Is that on? Are you ready? Okay. It is now 6:01, and I'm calling to order the regular Board of Education meeting for Indian Prairie School District 204 on Monday, May 18, 2026. Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Donahue?
Here.
Ms. Fosdick?
Here.
Mr. Karubas?
Here.
Ms. Grover?
Present.
Mr. Rising?
Here.
And Ms. Gims?
Here.
We have a quorum. Mr. Karubas, as your last official meeting, will you please lead the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next board meeting will be on June 8th. Tonight we have 9 board salutes. We'll start out with Ms. Gens.
I do have 3. 2026 Best Communities for Music Education. The board salutes the Indian Prairie Music Program and community for being named a 2026 Best Community for Music Education. Now in its 27th year, this award program recognizes school districts nationwide for their dedication to providing equitable access to music learning as part of a well-rounded education. The Indian Prairie community was selected for this national honor through a comprehensive application and review process, facilitated and verified by the independent education and arts firm Wolf Brown. This marks the 15th time Indian Prairie has received this national recognition. Congratulations to our music teachers and the community members who provide such outstanding support for music education here in District 204. 33rd Annual Midwest Media Educators Association High School Video Festival. The board salutes the media production students at Neuqua Valley for their performance at the 33rd Annual Midwest Media Educators Association Video Festival. Competing against 35 schools from across the region, the students earned 12 top honors and 5 finalist spots in categories ranging from news and sports to cinematography and comedy. We also celebrate the students who received Student Production Awards from the TV Academy and those moving on to the national competition. This record-breaking year is a true testament to the hard work of our students and the dedicated teachers who support them. Congratulations to everyone involved on this outstanding achievement. And last but not least from me, corporate-sponsored National Merit Scholarship winners. The National Merit Scholarship Corporation released the names of the second group of winners in the 71st Annual National Merit Scholarships Program, which includes approximately 700 distinguished high school seniors who earned corporate-sponsored awards financed by about 300 corporations, company foundations, and other business organizations. 7 District 204 high school seniors were named in this year's competition. Claire Nang and Rachel Chen from Matia Valley, Arav Goswami, Ria Masakalar, and Aditi Kashal from Neuqua Valley, and Vishnavi Reddy and Amog Shivana from Waubonsie Valley. Congratulations on this stellar achievement.
Ms. Fosdick.
National PTA Reflections Award winners. The board salutes Eugenia Perret Gentile, a second grader at Patterson Elementary, for her musical composition, Together with the Wind, which earned an Award of Excellence in the 2025-26 National PTA Reflections Arts Program. Also recognized is Nithin Srinivasan, a 6th grader at Gregory Middle School, who received a Merit Award for his piece, Together in Unison. For more than 55 years, the Reflections program has empowered students nationwide to express themselves through creative works, and these 2 District 204 students were among only 27 from Illinois selected for national review. Congratulations to Eugenia and Nathan on this remarkable accomplishment.
You just have one? Okay. Mr. Rising.
I have 2. The first one is Sam Labs Annual Design Challenge. The board salutes the student teams and teachers from Fry and White Eagle Elementary Schools for achieving national and regional acclaim in the Sam Labs Annual Design Challenge. Get Wild with Sam Labs. In this national STEM competition, Owen, Jacob, Daniel, and Will from teacher D. Batchelder's class won the national prize in the 4th through 8th grade bracket for their innovative project, Snake Serpent Attack. In the same bracket, Emma, Maddie, and Vivi, and Abby from teacher Janine Gertich's class secured the regional prize for their creative project, Mission Meerkat. By combining engineering, coding, and found materials to build these wildlife-inspired inventions, these students and their educators have demonstrated the spirit of innovation and excellence within our district. Congratulations to both. The next one, Mattia Valley Journalists take home national awards. The board salutes Mattia Valley High School student journalists Samraduti Patil, William Donofrio, and Nitra Nolobolu for their success in the National Federation of Press Women's High School Communications contest. Samraduti earned first place nationally in opinion writing for Revenge is Not Justice. William took first place nationally in feature reporting for Car Dependency Threatens Individuals, and Nitra received a national honorable mention in cartooning for Breaking Down Walls. The contest is a rigorous competition that evaluates clarity, style, and impactful storytelling. Congratulations to Samraduti, William, and Nitra on this stellar accomplishment.
Ms. Grover.
2026 Middle School Educator of the Year by DuPage Regional Office of Education. The board salutes Hill Middle School math teacher David James for being named the DuPage Regional Office of Education Middle School Educator of the Year. This award reflects the talent and dedication found within our schools as honorees are selected from competitive nominations across the entire country. Congratulations, David, for your commitment to excellence in the classroom. Virtual Enterprises International Youth Business Summit. The board salutes the 34 Neuqua Valley business students who traveled to New York City and made history. They are the first team outside of New York or California in the 30-year history of Virtual Enterprise International to win the National Business Plan competition. Students competed in national business competitions, participated in leadership and networking experiences, and entered their work at the International Trade Exhibition. Thanks to the guidance of facilitators Beth Schmidtgull, Beth Knut, and John Hansen, these students have proven themselves to be among the best young entrepreneurs in the world. Congratulations on the stellar accomplishment.
Mr. Karubis.
Naperville Crime Stopper Calendar winner. The board salutes Brookdale Elementary third grader student Zoe Chen for winning the Naperville Police Department's Crime Stopper Calendar contest, earning her entry into the calendar for the 2026-2027 school year. Congratulations, Zoe.
Let's have a big round of applause for all of these great accomplishments. We will now have a presentation from Matt Shipley regarding the 2027-2031 budget forecast.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. Welcome to tonight's matinee performance of our budget presentation. Tonight's presentation is in line with Board Policy 4.10, although we will be making references to other board policies during the presentation as well. And it's primarily linked with Strategic Plan Priority 4, although again it does relate to all of the other board strategic plan priorities as well. This is the second of 4 budget presentations as part of the cycle to adopt our 26-27 school year budget. And I'll say this is sort of the presentation where we start pivoting a little bit from looking at high-level data and 5-year data and some forecast data into really starting to hone into what some of our priorities are for the upcoming school year. Tonight's agenda, we'll just start with kind of relisting our budget priorities and what our administrative team sort of starts as our foundation as we build a budget. We'll summarize some of the key points talked about during our February presentation. I will show our budget to actual summary and revenue updates through April of this year. So again, trying to get a good anchoring and data about where we've been the past year as we build next year's budget. We'll then really do our first real look at our operating expenditures on a 5-year time horizon, summarize some of our priorities for both the upcoming year as well as the 27-28 school year as well. We'll look at the non-operating funds. That'll be a quick update. We are planning next month to do a Safer, Stronger 204 update where we'll go into those pieces in a little bit more detail. And then we'll conclude with a summary and any next steps. So again, just starting with what our priorities are as we build our budget. We've shown these to the boards before, but always want to anchor with them. Our priorities are a sustainable and transparent budget. That starts with structurally balanced operating forecasts. And I do want to say that when we talk about structurally balanced, really trying to look with a 3 to 5 year time horizon. We're not looking to play games or to try and balance 1 year of a budget over another with potentially moving revenues or expenditures one way or another. Really trying to build a sustainable budget over a significant period of time. Looking at maintaining necessary operating reserves. And then also using the recognition status from ISB as kind of again a good benchmark for ensuring that our financial status is healthy and that we again have the reserves, we have the capacity to run the district. We do look closely at our strategic plan objectives to ensure operational alignment. And then again, with the passage of the Safer, Stronger 204 referendum, we've also added as a priority to maintain the commitment to the taxpayers we made during that referendum, the largest one being maintaining a 37-cent non-operating tax rate. We do this all through a transparent and accountable process. It includes 4 board meetings, including this evening's, compliance with all state and federal laws regarding budget posting and compliance. Again, there's a significant compliance piece now that we are issuing bonds. And I'm proud to report we are current with all those filings. We do have a AA+ and AAA bond rating, and all the documents that build this budget are available at ipst.org/businessoffice. This is kind of a new graphic, and just kind of wanted to again share it as we anchor our discussion this evening. What are the foundations for a stable budget for a suburban school district in Illinois? And really, I think we've identified 5 pillars of that. And I think over the past several years, we've done a lot of good work to ensure all 5 of those pillars are as strong as possible. The first, again, in Illinois, we are very dependent on property taxes to fund education. So the first pillar is that strong property tax base. And we've talked over the past presentation in February and over the past several years. We continue to see our strong property growth, both in new property and existing property values, continue to be available to support the district. Again, already the second or third time we've mentioned the importance of maintaining adequate reserves. Again, money that's available there for emergency contingency, to safeguard against sudden revenue shortfalls, and to be available just to provide the working cash needs on a day-to-day basis for the district. The third pillar, we want to talk about just stable enrollment. And again, this is an area where we've done a lot of work as a board and as administration over the past several years, starting with our boundary work back in 2022. Really ensuring we know what students we're projecting over the next several years, ensuring we have boundaries and feeder patterns that support that. And again, are always staying aware and on top of what our enrollment is doing to ensure we're staffed and operating appropriately. The fourth pillar, probably the one we've added to the most over the past 18 months, and that's ensuring there's a dedicated source of funding for capital. So again, now with the passage of the Safer, Stronger 204 referendum, we have that dedicated source for capital. We are not looking towards the operating budget to provide significant sources of revenues to support and maintain our buildings. And then again, the final pillar may be the most important, and that's just ensuring strong governance and management practices. So again, using data to make decisions, showing structurally balanced budgets and presenting data regularly, ensuring we have transparency, and ensuring we're aligned with district policies. So again, I want to mention this is something that I think both our board and administration have taken very seriously, and we continue to to operate under all 5 of these pillars. And again, that puts us in a good position as we talk about some of the budgetary challenges moving forward. Summary of February's presentation. So again, this presentation was really focused on a 5-year horizon and specifically focused on revenue or sources of funds for the district. So we talked about how we expect our revenues to grow around the rate of inflation for the next 5 years, and that increase is primarily coming from our local property tax base. We did show that our property values continue to grow and continue to grow above CPI, so that our tax rate is the lowest it's been since 2009. We also talked a little bit about new property and where we anticipate some new property coming online in the district, and we do see some good commercial property as well as residential growth coming online in the next several years. We did talk about state and federal revenues. These generally are more challenging than the local revenues, and we're projecting these to stay flat or only see minimal increases over the next couple years. And then again, finally, we covered our capital needs and where we were on the capital side, noting that we're funded through 2032 as a result of the Safer, Stronger 204 referendum. We've covered this as part of February, but as we transition to looking at the operating funds, we were talking about the 6 funds that maintain the day-to-day operations of the district. We're not talking about the referendum funds, which are the non-operating funds. And so with that, we'll transition into kind of our operating budget discussion. Again, this is the same budget that was presented in February and that the board adopted over the summer. We adopted a budget that was effectively a break-even budget, just a small amount of surplus for the year, and we adopted a budget that left us with a fund balance percentage estimated at 34.4%, which is again above the 25% target set by the board in board policy. So with that said, we've been tracking to that budget very closely. Our team updates this regularly, and as an administration, we are regularly reviewing how are we projecting to that budget. And so I'm showing how we're projecting that budget through April 30th here. So as you'll see, both revenue and expenditures are largely in line with budget, although we are trending a little above both numbers by about $3.5 million. Just to kind of anchor, provide context to that, that is less than 1% of both total revenues and expenditures. So, we're close, but we are slightly above on the expenditure side. The revenue number is primarily due to final new property coming above what we budgeted for and even above what we expected when we levied in December, and I'll cover that in a little bit more shortly. On the expenditure side, you'll see several lines that are really close to budget, although there are, again, some that are slightly over. On the salary side specifically, we were showing a positive variance, I believe, in February. We're now showing that we'll be slightly over budget. The number one driver right now on salary expense is substitute expense. So we are significantly over budget on substitute expenses for the year. And again, we'll talk about that as a budget priority shortly. Special education transportation and outplacement services also continue to trend above budget. I believe we've been updating the board about that almost since the budget was adopted back in September. So continues to be an area that we're focused on and we'll be looking to prioritize how to improve that going forward. So despite those few challenges, again, we are projecting a balanced budget when the actuals come in as for fiscal year 2026. So again, most of the night will now be talking about operating expenditures, but just a few quick updates on the revenue side. Since we talked in February, we did receive our final property tax extension from both DuPage and Will counties. And a bit of good news to share, our new property came in $25 million above what we were projecting. That adds about $1 million to the annual budget. Really, this really comes down to growth of residential property, specifically in Will County, where we do have a significant new subdivision coming online. As we shared in February, there's a lot of uncertainty on when different properties become available to the taxing bodies. So I think a lot of this is just a timing issue and maybe just finalizing a value of a significant development that we knew was occurring. We'll continue to work with Will County to try and hone in those numbers and get them a little tighter than we have in the past. Again, in this situation, it was good news, but that doesn't mean in the future that we could have an estimate coming under. So we'll continue to work with the counties on that process. Again, just to reiterate, lowest tax rate since 2009, and you can see the annual chart there on the left of the slide. And then as we look at that Safer, Stronger 204 tax rate, that is now coming in at 32 cents. So that's below the 37-cent commitment made as part of the referendum. And again, we'll share briefly during the non-operating funds discussion a little opportunity that creates as we look to accelerate some of our capital work. No real updates to report on state of Illinois. Continuing to wait for the state's budget. We're now T-minus 12 days until they're supposed to have that passed. But I think overall the message continues to be that even if we see some increases this year, it'll continue to be below the level of CPI. And we shared this same graph back in February showing how that gap continues to grow and is now at about $10 million from 2018 as the base year. Federal funding is where we've probably had the most significant change since we spoke in February, and that's unfortunately due to the reduction of Title I funding. We now received our initial allocation from the state in late April. We're now budgeting a $1.2 million reduction in Title I fundings. That's over 50% of that total grant. Federally, the same amount was allocated to Title I, but we've seen a decrease of what went to Illinois, a decrease of about $38 million. And then IPSD was the second largest decrease statewide in Title I funding. We talked during the ESSER funding period several years ago about some of the challenges, inequities, kind of things that don't make a lot of sense when it comes to how federal funding is allocated. And really a lot of those same issues kind of came up again with this title grant. So again, the title grant's calculated based on a poverty rate. That poverty rate's based on census data. It's not based on the students in our buildings. It's 1 to 2 years in arrears. And it relies on a poverty threshold which is different than the services we provide to Title I eligible students. So the poverty rate is a different rate than when we talk about free reduced lunch rate for how we identify low-income students within our district. Other federal revenues did come in consistent with February's presentation, so this Title I issue is really the primary driver of any changes to federal revenue in our forecast. So just wanted to show this graphic here, which I think kind of tries to explain why that decrease and again what was really kind of a marginal decrease for us became so impactful. And really, although we talk about Title I as being one grant or one source of funds, it's almost 3 separate funding sources in one. And so, and some of those additional funding sources are tied to hitting a specific, being at or above a specific percentage of poverty. And so what we're showed here is that as we went from just over 5% to just under 5%, we started no longer qualifying for the targeted grant and the educational incentive grant. Both those require that number to be above 5%. So even though we had a decrease of less than 200 students in this calculation, by losing out on those dollars, we lost over $1 million of funding. Just to tie this to the Vision 2030 plan, one of the priorities of Vision 2030 was predictable funding for Illinois school districts. I would argue that when such a small change in students can create such a disparate impact from a dollar standpoint, that does not represent predictable funding. I'd also point out, again, we received this allocation the last week of April. So when you start talking about the time to implement changes and things, again, I don't think that's what we mean by predictable funding. I don't want to, I do want to credit our team that has done a lot of hard work over the last 2 to 3 weeks to really try and minimize the impact of this change. But as shown here, I don't want to downplay the fact that this has the potential to have long-term impact on our district and specifically on the schools and students that were receiving Title I services. Showed a 5-year revenue update summary in February. Again, this is pretty similar to what was shown in February. Total revenues are still in line, but again, we've got a reduction in federal revenues that's being offset by an increase in local property taxes. Again, we talk about that challenge of how dependent we are on the local tax base. This is a perfect example of how that challenge continues to grow. So with that, again, a transition into our operating expenses. So I'll start by showing what the 5-year projection looks like for our district. Again, a lot of numbers, and don't want to be giving people a vision test necessarily, but try and hit that when you take that revenue growth that was shown on the last slide, and you align it with our operating expenses. We are showing a structurally balanced budget, so we're showing that over the 5-year period, we are generally at a break-even position. However, we are projecting a one-time deficit for the 26-27 school year of about $4.9 million. So again, we've had many years of small surpluses and moderate surpluses in our budget. We are projecting going into the future that we will have similarly small surpluses, but we do have a 1-year deficit projected for the 26-27 school year. So just starting to talk about what's potentially driving that forecast. Again, driving the structurally balanced nature of the 5 years, while also talking about what's causing the 1-year deficit. So consistent with prior years, the majority of our budget remains salaries and benefits. Over 3/4 of our budget relates to staff directly employed by the district, and another 15% or so of purchased services represents outsourced services such as custodial, transportation, and food service. So even those show up as purchased services, those are primarily representing individuals that are in our buildings, serving our students every day. We are planning $2.7 million of reductions from baseline for 26-27, and that does include the impact of that Title I reduction. And we're projecting a reduction of about 20 FTE, which comes to about 0.6% of our total FTE. So I'll point out we also saw a small enrollment decline over the past year. That enrollment decline largely matches with that total FTE decline for next year. Since we talked in February, we've been busy. We have negotiated 2 union agreements. We've also brought to the board 2 years worth of transportation contracts as well. All of those, all the impact of those new agreements has been built into this operating forecast. So again, we're accounting for anything that is known as of today. So again, looking at our budget priorities for 26-27, I think there's really 4 areas I want to point out. The first, again, is to minimize the impact of that Title I funding loss. So recognizing that that's going to be a significant challenge, but trying to minimize that impact to the fullest extent possible. So we do anticipate that's going to result in the reduction of about 25 positions. We are still finalizing some of the exact positions or how some of that impact is felt. We are transitioning about $200,000 worth of title funding into local funding programs. So even with a projected deficit, we felt that was necessary again to ensure we were supporting these buildings as best as possible. So we are taking on a portion of those expenditures with local funds. This has also meant the consolidation of some preschool programming, and again, we're still working through some of the details of that as well. We've really continued to prioritize our IMTSS work. So again, as part of our budget process, we really look to be aligned with our strategic plan, and one of our strategic plan key priorities was that implementation of IMTSS systems. And so that does mean that even in a challenging budget environment, we have made funds available for a few select positions that we felt were critical to align with that work and to demonstrate that work within our schools. Finally, third, I did point out that our substitute expense continues to grow. We're projecting substitute expense to be over $6 million for the current year. That does represent one of the largest expense categories, one of the fastest growing expense categories in our budget. And so we are kind of taking an all-hands approach to talk about how we can reduce those costs. That did start with some discussions during our collective bargaining agreements, but this really has become a challenge for us to manage from an expense standpoint. I'll say if this was an easy solution, we would have had it to you already. But it is something that we're going to start looking at and taking a close look at. I do want to emphasize that we need substitutes and pay substitutes for a variety of reasons. There are staff-generated absences when staff are sick or unable to report to work that requires a substitute. But a lot of this is also things that we're doing at a district level. So, this is, looking at how we do professional development better, how we do curriculum development better. Are there scheduling components here to ensure teachers aren't needing a substitute so they can attend IEP meetings, for example? So there are, again, really a variety of things encompassed in this. A lot of things from just a scheduling and logistics standpoint that really become part of what we're trying to address. The fourth and final budget priority then was really an investment in our student services. So our student services team presented in March, and they showed the chart here on the right, which just shows that continued growth in some of our high incident disabilities, and really with a focus on students qualifying for services related to autism. So again, even in a challenging budget environment, we felt this was a priority, was to find the resources available to support this growth and this need within our student services department. So we are budgeting a 15 FTE equivalent increase in special education positions, again, primarily to support RISE program initiatives. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we are seeing a slight decline in enrollment over the last year and projected for next year. So these new positions will primarily be supported through a reduction in core classroom caused by that enrollment decrease. We're excited. I mean, this is a significant investment in our student services space. Definitely the largest investment we've made in the past 10 years. But I do want to reiterate, this is likely a one-time opportunity. And we are going to continue to need to look at how these services are delivered. And we also need to continue to advocate at a state level for additional state resources coming to support special education specifically. And the tagline I'd like to potentially start tonight, but if we are a destination district for special education services, we need to be a destination district for special education funding. Because with such a large percentage of our funding coming from local resources, we're not able to get the resources we need to support this population as it continues to grow. So those were the 4 priorities for 26-27. Just as we look to 27-28, this kind of becomes how we are showing a 1-year deficit, but also are confident that this really is a 1-year deficit. So the first thing, we've talked several times with the board about the operating savings we expect to generate through our Safer, Stronger 204 capital program. So we do expect to really see those savings start to come in line on 27-28. Specifically with the transition of the Neuqua Valley freshmen to the main campus. Again, I think we've shared before, but we budget that represents about $2 million of operating savings coming from a variety of sources. We do continue to prioritize energy savings as part of that capital program, both through our LED lighting initiative, through just some more efficient work in our HVAC systems. And then I think, again, we've shared we're adding solar panels to 5 buildings this summer as well. Initial reports on buildings with the LED light conversion is we're using about 25% less electricity and saving about a similar amount from a dollar perspective as well. Second priority, again, just speaks to some of the work we did as part of our collective bargaining agreements. We really feel we have an opportunity to really refine and improve our health insurance plans to ensure those plans continue to meet the needs of our employees, but also ensure some cost stability for our district. And so again, we had very collaborative discussions with leadership of both our associations about how we can meet that goal, and then ultimately use some of those savings to help meet the needs of the board, but also help meet the needs of their members as well. Finally, as the board knows, we are starting our PRISM initiative, and again, we do expect to see some reductions in efficiencies come out of that work as well. So again, just wanted to spend a few minutes this evening talking about our non-operating funds. Again, we continue to maintain two non-operating funds, both the capital fund, or the work we do for district facilities, and then our debt service fund, or how we repay the obligations that come from that capital work. Again, very limited recurring revenues available, but again, this really becomes one of those key pillars to the financial health of the district, is ensuring we have the capital program in place and funded through the successful referendum. So again, just like in February, we are on time and at or below budget on these projects. We are anticipating savings that we just mentioned coming into the forecast in 27-28. And I will point out, but we are working on our next semi-annual report to the community on this work, and we should have that available by the end of the month, or at the time of our next board presentation at the latest. So I just want to start and look at sort of the updated forecast for our debt service fund, and just again put a new concept or a potential opportunity in front of the board. So again, we had a commitment to the community to keep that tax rate at or below 37 cents. With the amount of new property we've added and the continued strong property values of current property, that tax rate's now sitting at 32 cents. So there is an opportunity within the current debt schedule to maybe accelerate some debt issues and repayments. And so that's kind of what's shown here, just under that debt service proposed line, showing what would happen if we added an additional $1 million of debt service each year. So you can kind of see how that flows through the calculation. We'd still maintain a tax rate, again, below 37 cents and still have a little bit of cushion there. But this new payment schedule could allow us to issue an additional bond, issue a bond earlier, and potentially complete some of the work we were planning maybe at the back end of the program even earlier. So again, if we look at what that impact could be on the capital projects fund, so originally we had not anticipated issuing any new capital bonds until summer of 2027. There is now an opportunity to potentially do an issuance this fall, and again use those funds to start some work earlier than anticipated. And then just to kind of finally close out the capital piece, again, we'll talk about this a little bit more next month, but we also talked a lot about how the capital budget not just included the bonds, but also included the opportunities for rebates, incentives, and other sort of revenues that could occur as part of the capital projects. We are starting to see those revenues come in. We're showing this in the locally funded capital bucket here, and you'll see again, we're anticipating having about $4 billion now available to also supplement some of that work. We are just tracking it as part of local because there's some less restrictions or some different restrictions on those funds. So those will be shown as part of the local capital forecast going forward as opposed to as part of the bond funds. Again, just trying to track the funds separately and maintain compliance with bond requirements. But again, good news that we're starting to see some of that additional revenue become available and available to, again, supplement the capital work as we've previously discussed. So with that said, we are starting to outline the steps that are required to approve a budget for the 26-27 school year. I'm tentatively planning on a July 13th budget presentation and then a budget public hearing and adoption on August 24th. We are required by state law to have a 30-day period between that initial presentation and the adoption. As mentioned earlier, next month on June 8th, we'll be diving much deeper into our Safer, Stronger 204 program, including an update on a lot of the design work that's occurred for Hill Middle School. I will say that's going to be a pretty exciting night. I think we're really excited to show the board some of the great ideas our team has come up with how we can transform that facility. And as always, we will continue to update the board and be available for any questions, with those questions starting now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Karubas.
2 points. Slide 10. This kind of gets into state advocacy, which you mentioned about special education, and you mentioned that we have a growing deficiency here. But I think the district and the school board need to look at expanding our advocacy to include a tier 2 district organization. I think the other advocacy groups we have, ISB, LEND, LUDA, are kind of having their own focus. And I think we need to, advocating solely on our behalf is kind of level 1. I think if we group together, that'll help us with the advocacy. I'm not thinking we should hire our own lobbyists to do this. I think there's efficiency in numbers. And I think part of the special education conundrum with the funding is, it's a variable in the evidence-based funding formula that might need tweaking. I think if our tagline is, we would like more money, that's not as impactful as, hey, we should change the formula for everybody. So I think if we seriously look at a tier 2 lobbying organization, I think that will help with this discrepancy we're dealing with in slide 10 and the special education problem. Slide 14. So you want to maintain healthy reserves. If you have too much reserves, then you are not reasonably using taxpayer resources. If you have too few reserves, then you end up borrowing to make payroll. That's where we get our 25% minimum from. If you look at the bottom left, we're at 35. And you could see how we used our reserves to deal with a federal discrepancy partially. You could see that our projection for next year was a 20% reduction overall. So we used our reserves mindfully to level out the budget. And then you could see going forward that it is structurally balanced. Something that is concerning, though, is the direction of our reserves going from 35 to 30 over 5 years. So directionally, you could see it smoothing out, but reserves take a long time to increase, and usually they jump down quickly. So you see how we went from 35 to 33. We don't want to have not enough money in our savings account to make it a problem. So I'd like to see that, to slow down the decrease and start bringing it up. That's it.
Ms. Gentz.
I want to thank you for the presentation again. You always explain things in a way that it makes a whole lot more sense than just looking at all of the numbers. And I do appreciate how challenging it is right now, especially as you're talking about, a decrease in enrollment, but an increase in special ed needs. So I can really appreciate when you're talking about everything, the funding that we've been able to increase for special education with 15 new positions. I think we can all agree that's absolutely wonderful. But what I did email you about, and you did answer me, I think I would just love for everyone else to kind of hear those answers to, was really slide 16. And I also can appreciate how difficult of a job it is to actually minimize the impact of Title I funding loss. And I have no doubt that when you were all working together, you did that 100% with that in mind. My only concern really is when we're talking about reducing 25 positions, you're talking about some of these Title I schools only having one, maybe two interventionists trying to do the job of what currently 4 or 5 are. So what I'm wondering is, if we're not able to bring some of these positions back, are we looking into ways that we can still academically help these students that they're still going to need the help, whether or not we have a math interventionist in the school or not? So yes, absolutely. That was more directed at you, honestly. Thank you.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
Through our IMTSS process, that's one way by which we look at what are the services we're providing to students. Are they making progress? And if not, then we rethink about what interventions we're doing in place. The schools still have interventionists in the building.
Yeah.
But I will admit, the fact that we have teachers and administrators in the audience, it will take a little bit more effort to make that happen. Some of the positions that were cut were teaching assistants, some were teacher level positions. When you see the fact that we lost $1.2 million,
Right.
it's impactful.
It hurts,
There's no
right,
other word
yeah.
around it. And so I know we have the right people in the schools, the right staff who are doing all that they can to ensure the success of our children. And so we looked at this very carefully with a very close lens at what are the positions we're cutting and how will the impact be felt.
Yeah. No, thank you. I really do appreciate that. And again, I know it's from a funding loss that we had no control over. So I just know there's also a lot of parents and staff concerns moving forward into next year. So thank you very much, honestly. And I have no doubt discussions will be continuing into the summer. So thank you both.
Yeah. No, and the only thing I would add is, we, independent of the title funding, but even as we look at allocating all other funding, we are, we do that and always trying to improve, but we do that with an equity lens. We do that recognizing that, that those buildings and those students sometimes have different needs or more needs than some of our other buildings and schools. So, I'll point out things like we do offer smaller class sizes at those Title I buildings. That's always been locally funded, and that will continue. So again, that's an example where, of sort of, recognizing that and using local funds to achieve that as well. So those local funds and those sort of allocations that have always also provided some additional resources buildings, those will remain regardless of the Title I issue.
Okay. No, thank you so much. I think it helps for all of us to hear that, and I know we really do try to look at everything with an equity lens, and right now that is a very large hit, frankly, to take. So I do appreciate you guys kind of walking me through all of it, the community through all of it, and I have no doubt you'll keep us updated of any changes.
Ms. Grover.
Thanks, Matt, for the presentation. And I echo what Ms. Gens stated. You explained the Title I and what's going on. My question is to substitute teaching. You mentioned that, it's one of we spend a lot on substitute teaching. And you may not know the answer, but have you spoken with neighboring districts or other districts as to if they are having the same concern and how they are handling it?
I think when we look at the data, we would see that it is a regional or statewide, potentially national trend. I think we are still, again, maybe have some unique factors going on, or again, maybe still just a little bit above the trend line, if you will, on that. Again, I think coming out of COVID in 2020 and 2021, there was a lot of, there were a lot of just natural absences as part of that period. I think then we got into a period where we were so far behind maybe on some professional development and curriculum adoptions and things that then we started as a district maybe generating more substitutes, and I think that's really where we've got to start looking and having some really deep discussions and deep conversations about philosophically. We know that, again, curriculum development, we know professional development is important work, but we also know the most important work is having the student's teacher in front of them as many days as possible. So again, there's a combination of factors going on, and we're committed to looking at all of it. Again, I don't think we're necessarily unique, but it's definitely a challenge for us.
Thank you.
I'll just add, attending national conferences, I have asked the question, and across the nation, we have seen that issue as well.
Mr. Rising.
You go to slide 8. I'm going to start a little bit. I'm going to combine some of what Mr. Karubas and Ms. Gens both said. As we look at next year's deficit and what's really driving that, I mean, you kind of laid it out on the right-hand side of what's really driving that. And if we even get more granular and specific than that, it's the biggest deficits there is that purchase services part. I agree with Mr. Karubas. For people that don't understand how schools are funded from a state level, it's by tiers. And your tier 1 are your lowest locally funded district. Your tier 4s are your highest locally funded district. We're tier 2. Evidence-based funding for tier 2 districts has not been beneficial. Since 2017, we have been facing this issue of stagnant state funding, which has hurt us. And there's somewhat of a misconception or misnomer out there, even from fellow school board members across the state. They feel that tier 2 districts are getting extra state money. The reality is that the majority of the extra money that's coming from state funding is going to tier 1 districts. And what tier 2 districts are receiving, we can't keep up with inflation. And you can see it's killing our purchase services. And so if I could ask a question there, if you had I know this is a crazy ballpark for you, but as far as our purchase services, those are contracts that we have to frequently renew. We always try to negotiate those purchase services contracts or vendor contracts, but the reality is sometimes we're just renewing from year to year. Do you know on average the cost increase of purchase services? If not, you can get back to me. I mean, again, I'm just totally asking for a ballpark. I know some could be 1% increase year to year, some could be 15% increase from year to year. Is there any way you'd even want to remotely even guesstimate that?
Yeah, I think the majority of that expense, again, $69.2 million budget for the current year, the majority falls to 3 purchase service categories. So our outsourced custodial, our outsourced food service, and our outsourced transportation. Mm-hmm. I think in general, the food service and the custodial has tracked pretty closely to CPI, potentially even slightly below it. It's the transportation where we've been well above the consumer price index over the past several years. Yeah. I think our team has worked extremely hard to minimize that impact. Whether that's through really adopting and staying on the cutting edge of routing technology to ensure we're routing as efficiently as possible. I think back to our boundary work where we had an 18% reduction in miles driven. I look at the safety hazards and work we do there to ensure that we're as compliant as possible with the state regulations on who's eligible for transportation. It feels like we've gotten to a point where maybe we're running out of things to pull out of that bag of tricks on the regular transportation or the general transportation. I think specifically this year where we are over budget and where we're over where we thought we would be is on the special education transportation side. Again, a lot of those efficiencies and drivers kind of are minimized in that space. That really comes down to students qualifying for those services. Yeah. And so that ties or correlates a lot more closely with some of the other challenges we're seeing from an expenditure standpoint in the special education space.
And so I guess my point there is, since 2017 with evidence-based funding, it really hasn't helped tier 2 districts. Tier 3 and tier 4, they get so much local revenue, they're not really struggling when we see increases in these purchase services contracts. Tier 1 districts have received millions of extra funding. Those are the districts that, rightfully so, were underfunded in the past, but those are the ones that are now building new buildings and everything else. I've been on this board for 15 years, and even before evidence-based funding in 2017, state funding was prorated. So we always received less than the state promised us. And the reality is, as a district, we have not spent, and no fault of our own, we have not spent even the state average of what school districts have across the state, because we don't have the resources to spend that. On a positive note, I will say, we are the 36th best school district in the country, 36 out of 12,000 school districts. So we are doing great things, but to your point, Matt, when those purchase service contracts are going up so much more than inflation, CPI has been 2.7, 2.9, 3.4, and these contracts are going up 5 to 10%, that's where we're seeing this big, huge reduction of what's coming out that we haven't been able to keep up with. And oh, by the way, state reimbursement for transportation is the lowest it's been in the past 15 years as well. So I just wanted to make that point, because a lot of this you have even seen with those tier 3 and tier 4 districts where they did not see this coming as well, some of these purchase service increases. So that's the point I wanted to make on that. Just one final point, slide 21. You had asked our eventual kind of direction on this or thoughts on this. And I'll kind of briefly give you mine, but I'm sure you'll want to hear from other board members eventually or reach out to them individually. Kind of where I land on this, as far as I am very excited that the tax rate we told our residents through the referendum, we have been less than that 37 cents. So extremely excited about that, because lower tax rate means lower taxes. We can get into a whole discussion how the assessor really makes up that mind of how much people get taxed anyway, but we've kept our promise at least. As far as the extra money, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer of why wouldn't we accelerate a payment as long as we're staying under that 37 cents? Why wouldn't we accelerate a payment to potentially take out another bond to do additional work or pay off it early? To me, that's doing what's the smartest thing to do with your money to maximize the funds that you have while still aligning to the commitment we said we would align to. So to me, that's kind of a no-brainer, but you know, I'm sure other board members will weigh in as well. But that's all I had. Thank you so much.
Ms. Fosdick.
All right, my fellow board members have covered most of what I have to say, but Mr. Krup's comment about advocacy for EBF changes reminded me that I also wanted to share, there is an opportunity here for us to advocate at the federal level as well. On slide 12, when you talk about the impact of dropping below the 5% poverty rate, and the fact that for us that represents 200 students, that change from 200 students, is exactly the kind of personal story to take to our legislators and have that discussion face to face. So I would like to see us continue to do that personally to help make those changes going forward. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation and for the comments by the board members. I echo many of the comments that were brought up already. Tier 2, you know, I've also been advocating that we need to pursue advocacy in a different route than some of our traditional groups, because they are focused in a different direction, it seems. I also, though, recall a discussion with Mr. Rising. We have to watch, or maybe it was Mr. Krubis, someone, or maybe one of the other board. But it was about that, okay, yeah, tier 1 schools have been helped, right, over the last X years. And some of them recently moved to tier 2. So they're like in happy land right now, right? They don't know what tier 2 is like, where you get nothing. And so we have to watch that districts that are participating have a similar viewpoint as we do, and maybe we can educate them at what it means to be. Now that you're in tier 2, you got helped while you were in tier 1, but now you're going to get what, $15 a student per year type of increase. So it's like I think we need to selectively either educate some of the other tier 2 districts, or make sure that they're ones that have been there for a while, like us. Yeah. So
They do learn quick, though, I will say.
yeah.
There were some fast learners this year when some of those districts went from tier 1 to tier 2.
Well, and I know like Chicago Public Schools, I don't know, are they tier 2 still, or?
Yeah, Chicago Public Schools, and that's actually one of the big changes impacting this year, is that because they're sitting right on the cusp between tier 1 and tier 2. It's sort of, again, if the largest district goes one way or the other, then a bunch of other districts have to go. And so CPS moved back to a tier 1 district this year. It moved a fairly significant number and some fairly large districts from tier 1 to tier 2. And I think there were some fast learners in that group. I think there were some districts that got used to that additional tier 1 money that are now having some challenges. But again, if something happens with CPS that moves them back up, to your point, they'll fall right back into the tier 1 area, and again, maybe not be the right partners who tell the story of our district. It is a little unique to be kind of smack dab in tier 2 for the length of EBF. We don't have it's a small club, unfortunately.
Right.
The positive is I sit on that state committee for evidence-based funding, but I've only been appointed since the fall, and there's only been 2 meetings. And I couldn't really come guns blazing. But the positive is we have a meeting again next month, and Matt and I have been talking. We've also talked to Lend, and they've given us some ideas to better tell our story about tier 2 and how they're struggling. I think there's also some opportunities for some discrepancy that Matt has seen in some calculations that they've done with previous things around evidence-based funding. So we're working towards spreading the word, but it's going to take a broader advocacy, as Mr. Karubas and President Donahue have said.
I also did participate in an interview maybe 3 weeks ago with a group that is doing advocacy for public school funding, and it's based in Illinois. And they did come back to me and asked if I would join their small circle that meets like every 2 weeks or so. So I said I would. And the first meeting is either tomorrow or Thursday. So I had read them the Riot Act about what tier 2 is like, and they were pretty shocked, actually. So it was a good discussion. And when you mentioned some of the things we're doing to try and look at transportation costs over the last few years with changing our boundaries and some of the other things, our recent change you didn't mention is that we're no longer going to bus for preschool. So that was a significant savings that we'll have there.
Yes.
I'm not happy that we're doing that, but I just wanted to add that to your list of things that we have been doing to try and look at the transportation costs. The substitute teaching expense is a major concern, and in the new teacher contract, we did put some incentives in there to try and help address teachers taking a lot of time off, because we all agree that not only is expensive, but it also is, we want our teachers in front of our classrooms, and the more we can do to encourage that, the better. Everybody has talked about the $1.2 million cut that we got from the Title I federal funding, which is very concerning. That's a yearly assessment, so next year we could be back at 5.1% and or whatever our number was.
And again, we kind of had the conversation about EBF as well. It works the same way. So if we go back up to 5.1 or 5.01, most of that funding could be restored. So again, when we talk about predictability of funding or lack of it, it does go both ways.
Yeah, the concern was, and I'm sorry I didn't get to ask questions ahead of time. So, but you mentioned that it's based on the census. The census in some people's mind is like a 10-year thing. So it's like, are we, stuck with some number now for the next?
There is the annual census that's done once every 10 years. Again, the last census was done in 2020, and so I think there's been some concerns for 6 years now about the accuracy of that data. It is kind of rolled forward each year, but we're a year or two in arrears, so I think we're now working off of like the 2023, 2024 census, but yeah, that's not data that's a 100% sampling like the every 10 years. That's really doing some statistical sampling and some work at the census to kind of roll it forward. And again, I'll just reiterate, it's not based on students actually attending in our buildings. It's based on what the census data is for the general area, for the Indian Prairie boundaries, but that could look different, and I think potentially does look different from what's occurring in our buildings. One final point to point out of that, because it is something, the city of Aurora specifically is working to sort of protest the census data, to demand a recount, I guess. And so there is some information that they're starting to share specifically in Aurora. Again, where Aurora, their city council has said, we know our census data was inaccurate. We know it's costing us money. What can we do to correct this? And so again, some of that may also be playing into our issues as well.
And that could look at the funding formula that they use for this year, where we have this $1.2 million cut.
I don't think it would be retroactive,
Okay.
but it would be something that could help us going forward. So again, I know that the city of Aurora is starting to put information out about that campaign this summer. So I'd encourage our community, I'd encourage our board and others to encourage people to take that effort seriously as well, because I think as you point out, these do have real consequences.
It just struck me that we do use a lot of terminology and things. Maybe for the audience, explain what Title I means.
Sure. Yeah. So real quick for those who came in late.
Yeah.
The Title I is one of our primary federal funding sources. It is tied to it's designed to assist our buildings that have a certain percentage of low-income students, to provide some supplemental funding to support those buildings and those students. And again, we're just talking about one of the budget challenges where we're looking at over $1 million reduction in that funding for next year. Again, because of some changes, some real minor changes to our overall census data, which really drove a significant budget impact.
And how many of our schools are Title I?
I believe it's 5, and of course I'm looking at Dr.
4.5-ish,
Four and a half.
We've added one more to it, but you also have to understand there are 2 schools that are Title I without a waiver request, and that's because they're free and reduced meals. Their farms rates are over 40%. Then you have 3 other schools that we applied for them to be Title I based upon a waiver because their farms rates are under that amount. A school can be completely Title I, or you can have within a school certain students receiving Title I services. What we have applied for is the waiver so that all of the schools under the 40% can have total Title I application, as opposed to just some within the buildings.
And the 1.2.
Farms, F-A-R-M.
That's a term.
Free and reduced meals.
It's a term used. I explained it ahead of time. I said farms, the free and reduced meals, farm rates, and it's a term used on the East Coast.
Yeah, he
I
brought that
here.
one. That's not even Illinois lingo.
It is farms rates. Okay, I'm leaving.
All right, I know I'm trying to move forward, but I have to ask a couple more things. The 1.2 million, which it's very bad to hear that we are getting that, and that is the second largest in the state. and that our student population still is at 19% low income. That has not changed, but we will have 1.2 million less, which was going to 4.5 schools to provide supplemental resources. So the $1.2 million cut, is it totally being absorbed by those 4.5 schools, or did we put some extra money in to try and
Yeah, so we
soften that a bit?
we did work to soften it a little bit,
Okay.
and again, we're still finalizing some of those plans, but we are committing some local resources to help offset that.
Right.
So again, just given some of the other challenges with with state revenues and some of our other budget challenges, I don't know if there's the ability to absorb all of it or even most of it, but we are absorbing some of that with local dollars.
Okay, that was it. So thank you very much for an informative presentation. Thank you to all the board members for all of their questions and comments. Now we have our student representative report by Anoushka Sandeep from Waubonsie Valley High School.
Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. My name is Anoushka Sandeep, and I am here today to represent Waubonsie Valley High School. As a warrior, I am proud to report that our Waubonsie community continues to flourish and provide many outstanding experiences to our students. Lots has happened over the past month. The building is wrapping up a very busy year celebrating our 50th anniversary. Some unique celebrations from this year were the opening of our time capsule, a reunion of 50 years during homecoming, a successful kids carnival in January, and our lip dub, which is now up on YouTube, and the reveal of our mascot, Ovi. Our spring musical was a fantastic performance of Shrek with over 100 students involved. On May 5th, we celebrated the Green and Gold Awards for the senior class of 2026, recognizing over 60 seniors. And 640 students attended the Golden Hour Prom later that week at Bolingbrook Golf Club, a huge success. This week takes us into the last few events for the class of 2026, including senior finals, senior brunch event on Wednesday, the senior farewell ceremony on Wednesday night, and the graduation practice on Thursday, and finally, graduation itself on Sunday. Dance team, cheer, show choir, and many other teams are hosting tryouts for the 26-27 teams. And this last week, we celebrated 5 of our Special Olympic athletes going to state. We also had a badminton doubles pair place 6th at state this past weekend. And last weekend, Waubonsie Valley BPA also had 27 people place top 10 at Nashville in Tennessee. Regarding renovations, our building is taking on the very real challenge of relocating several rooms and department offices in order for construction to take place. Our cafeteria has been completely relocated to our auxiliary gym, while the cafeteria, atrium, stadium, and other locations are under intense construction. We invite the board to come see the progress. It has been a pleasure to represent Waubonsie Valley High School this past school year, and thank you for all that the board does for us students. That is all for the Waubonsie Valley Board Report. Thank you all so much, and go Warriors!
Thank you very much. Thank you. Our school spotlight tonight is Gombert Elementary, which will be presented by Jeremy Ricken, Christina Messerschmidt, Sheila Owens, and Lauren Riviera. Yay.
Good evening. President Donahue, Dr. Talley, members of the board, thank you very much for inviting us to come out this evening to spotlight one of our very favorite events annually at Gombert, one of our most popular, well-attended events, our Family Learning Night. This year our event was held in April, and I have several people here from our very talented and dedicated staff to share some more about that event with you. We have Sheila Owens, reading specialist. We have Melissa Harry, our interventionist. and Lauren Rivera, our Student Services Coordinator.
So for an evening on April 16th, our school transformed its focus to one central purpose: increasing family engagement and strengthening the bonds between our school and the surrounding community. We appreciate the Title I funds that allowed us to plan this event. It was a time to welcome everyone into our building to learn and to have some fun together. This event is a well-attended annual tradition at Gombert, and we feel that this is a testament to the community spirit that we foster. Our Family Learning Night is designed around high engagement through hands-on interactive learning. This year's theme was Learning is Sweet, and every activity was directly connected to our core school theme. We ensured the night offered rich learning experiences across all areas, and including reading, writing, math, and art, while providing a fun and informal learning environment for all ages.
Building on that theme, the night was packed with differentiated, engaging activities. We had a great variety of things to do, including read-alouds, various literacy and math activities, and an interactive book walk. The math focus included several math games. Our art component involved make and take crafts. Families had a lot of fun creating colorful fidgets and collectively coloring a mural for display. We also hosted the very popular bingo game. A major highlight of the evening was the Anderson's Book Fair, where families could shop together. One of the most popular activities of the night was the Blacklight Escape Room, where families worked together to unlock puzzles. The impact of this event is best captured by our families. A parent of a kindergartner and first grader shared that it was such a beautiful sight to see the children so engaged and eager to participate in what was a successful and fun event. The creativity of activities was also praised, especially the Blacklight Escape Room. One family, attending for their second year, appreciated the new ideas and stated, "I love the creativity that comes with planning this event, such as the Sweet Escape Room. The teachers and staff are able to create an event engaging for all elementary ages, which can be challenging. I also appreciate the variety of activities, allowing all the kids to enjoy the night." Overall, our Family Learning Night was a wonderful success, fulfilling its mission as a great community event focused on learning. Thank you for your continued support of our efforts to connect with Gombert families. We look forward to future opportunities to bring our community together.
As you can see, this event really was a highlight of our year. We are grateful for both Sheila and Melissa's leadership, as well as the entire Gombert staff for making this event such a success. Thank you again to the Board of Education for allowing us this opportunity to highlight Gombert Elementary and our Family Learning Night.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to see making learning fun and also engaging the family. So it's like, thank you for your creativity and your engagement to bring this together. So thank you so much. Next, we have our Outstanding Service Awards. Are you going to?
So each year, we want to spend just a few moments celebrating the 3 high school student representatives who report out to each of the board meetings the great things that are happening in their schools. As a token for each of these students, we have a plaque and a gift card. Ms. Soha Panchal from Matia High School, she will be attending Loyola College in the fall. Soha, are you here? Congratulations, I wish you all the best. Stay right up here, we're going to take a picture of you. Can't go anywhere, sorry. Ms. Kylie Tran, Neuqua Valley High School. She's going to Nova Southeastern University in the fall. She has been accepted into their BSMD program. Kylie, are you here tonight? And Miss Anoushka Sandeep from Waubonsie, who was up here tonight, she had a concert to go to, but it's okay. I will bring her her award, and she'll be back next year because that's where she's going. She's coming back to us at Waubonsie. We have enjoyed hearing from these 3 students this year. Their pride for their school always was heard in what they had to say. We wish Kylie and Soha the best next year. Congratulations to all of you, and we're going to take a picture.
The open spot back here.
Now we will have our Inspire Awards, and I have several people that are going to present. Did I miss something? You had a strange look. Okay. No, Mark. That's just him. Sorry. All right. We'll start with the Illuminate Award. Who has that? Okay. Is Rommel Bond here?
All right. Inspire. The mission of the Indian Prairie School District is to inspire all students to achieve their greatest potential. Tonight, we're presenting 4 District 204 awards to recognize individuals and organizations who make a meaningful and lasting impact on the students of Indian Prairie. The Illuminate Award, our first award of the evening, is presented to a community member or organization dedicated to supporting District 204 students and the community. This year's Illuminate Award is presented to Rommel Bond. While he is an IT professional for Indian Prairie, his impact on the Waubonsie Valley community extends far beyond his day-to-day role. He originally joined the Waubonsie family as a parent, but long after his own children graduated, Rommel chose to stay. No, we won't, actually, no. I agree. For over 10 years, he's dedicated his free time to taking photos of all students, whether they are athletes, performers, or seniors, working to capture the diverse moments of high school life. Rommel's photography does much more than fill yearbooks and social media pages. It creates a deep sense of belonging. Through his lens, students see themselves recognized and valued for their unique contributions to the school. Remarkably, Rommel provides this service entirely free of charge, which we are always very grateful for. From hours spent on the sidelines and in the auditorium to traveling to away games at his own expense, his dedication is fueled purely by his love for the students. In recognition of his dedication to enhancing lives and creating a caring, inclusive environment, the Indian Prairie School District 204 Board of Education is proud to present the 2026 Illuminate Award to Rommel Bond. Congratulations, Rommel. And I do have to say a personal thank you to you. As a Waubonsie family parent, I have a daughter in show choir who talks about you constantly. So when they say he has an impact on the students, you guys really have no idea the huge impact he really does. Like, he is a celebrity at Waubonsie Valley. Thank you so much, sir. And then you get all of that for you. This is all for you. Do you want, can he speak? You can, if you would like to say something, you can. I don't want to put you on the spot, but
I guess I
here
can.
we are.
Yeah.
Get a picture of you, Ron.
This is the 2016 is the conclusion of my 14th year doing this. When I started this, I thought it was just going to be 4 years after and when my son graduated, I'm done. But some families came up to me and asked me, if I can keep doing it, and it's grown. I only started doing, I do all the banners for the school, and that only started after the year after my son graduated. My son he was a little squirrely about having me around all the time, so I had to wait. And first it started with the football team, but now it's every team, all the dancers, all the cheerleaders. I have a hard time saying no to the kids, is basically the problem. When they ask me why I do this, I'm just trying to pay back. Like she said, I had 2 children that went through 204, and I'm just trying to pay back because they had such a great experience all the way from kindergarten through high school. I love the parents and the students that go to Waubonsie. Mr. Stipp and I started together. His first year was my son's freshman year. So, and recently I posted, the most common question I get asked is, how long are you going to keep doing this? Because I've got a freshman, that's coming up in a year. Every time before this year, my answer has always been, this is my last year. But I've kind of thought about it, and I'm going to try to make it to 2030, and no, there's somebody, I know who's saying 35 back there because she's got a daughter that's, I think, in 4th grade or 3rd grade. I don't know if I can make it that far. But I just figure, I'm looking to retire from the district in 2030, so we'll just take it from there and see. Maybe I'll still do it, not as much as I do it now, but I just want to thank everybody for the recognition. I was really surprised when they told me. Actually, when I got the letter from Dr. Talley, I go, am I getting fired? Or and the superintendent's taking a personal interest in it. So I was extremely surprised. So thank you very much for this award. Do I have to take a picture? I have to take a picture?
All right, next we have the Impact Award.
Is Miss Jennifer Campen here? Our second award is the Impact Award, which is given to a staff member who has made a significant difference in the lives of our students. The recipient of the Impact Award is Jennifer Campen, the Student Services Coordinator at Longwood Elementary. Jennifer is an exceptional leader who positively is matched by her ability to turn vision into meaningful transformative, I will get that word right, action. Over the past 2 years, she has designed and implemented strategic initiatives that have strengthened the school community and created a lasting positive ripple effect for Longwood families. One outstanding example is the Longwood Walking Bus, which Jennifer launched to help students walk safely to their neighborhood school. Staff members now meet students at 3 neighborhood pickup points to walk them to and from school each day. This simple, powerful program has slashed student absences by an average of 50% and reduced late arrivals by a staggering 75%. Beyond the incredible numbers, it fosters deep connection, physical activity, and a joyful, welcoming start to the school day. Jennifer also launched I'm sure you've launched a lot of things. Jennifer also launched Stay and Play Fridays, inviting families into classrooms once a month to read, participate in activities, and engage directly in their child's learning. Over 100 parents attended the very first event, and that enthusiasm has only grown, beautifully strengthening the partnership between school and home. Jennifer does not just support students, she builds systems that uplift an entire community. Thank you, Jennifer, for your incredible dedication and for being such an essential part of our community. On behalf of the Indian Prairie School District Board of Education, I'm pleased to present you with the 2026 Impact Award. Congratulations.
Thank you. As a District 204 graduate, I've also been fortunate to serve the my entire career as an educator, which I'm so proud of. And this award means so much, and it's because of our community at Longwood. We have incredible teachers and staff, incredibly dedicated families that make all of that possible because of their support and willingness to try new ideas and inspire new ideas, and support with their time and heart for our students each and every day. So this is because of them, and I'm so grateful to be a part of our community at Longwood. Thank you. Thank you.
Now we have our Ignite Award.
Our third award is the Ignite Award, which is given to students who are emerging leaders and demonstrate exemplary qualities within a District 204 student organization. The Ignite Award is presented to Neuqua Valley senior Kylie Tran, a young leader who has made a profound difference in our community. Her leadership is rooted in thoughtfulness, consistency, and integrity. Kylie leads deliberately, inclusively, and steadily becoming someone her peers naturally turn to for guidance, support, and strength. Kylie's commitment to service and growth extends across our entire school community. Beyond her work organizing meetings and coordinating with local organizations for Interact, her services as an officer on the Student Council, where she represents her peers with professionalism, her incredible time management and discipline are further reflected in her 4 years on the varsity tennis team, her work as a tennis instructor, and her active involvement in the Red Cross Club and PE leaders. What truly distinguishes Kylie, however, is her resilience. After moving from Mississippi to Naperville in the 8th grade, she seamlessly adapted to a rigorous academic environment, developing an exceptional work ethic and a perseverance that inspires everyone around her. Ultimately, it is Kylie's thoughtful compassion and unwavering integrity that truly sets her apart. On behalf of the Indian Prairie School District Board of Education, I am pleased to present you with the 2026 Ignited Award. Congratulations.
I
said enough.
So would the P3 pillar group come up and join me?
I'm going to stand way back.
I now have the honor of presenting the most prestigious award of the evening, the Inspire Award. This award is given to an individual or an entity that has demonstrated exemplary service to District 204 over a sustained period of time. This year's recipient of the Inspire Award is the P3 Pillar Coalition, an invaluable partnership of the African American and Black parent groups at Indian Prairie School District 204. This incredible coalition includes PATHS, established in 2010, PAGES, established in 2013, PACES, established in 2016. Together, these organizations serve as pillars of our district dedicated to championing the needs of African American students, striving for equity in education, and empowering our community by sharing vital academic resources and knowledge. Since their founding, P3 and Pillar have been supporters of District 204 students, families, and the wider community. A powerful example of this impact can be seen through the standout programs led by PAGES at Waubonsie Valley. These initiatives include the Limitless Learning Lounge, a bi-monthly tutoring environment offering academic support and free meals, as well as monthly workshops covering essential topics from resume writing to college prep. Furthermore, their annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service brought together over 150 attendees this year to pack care packages for shelters and support children in hospitals, while their annual scholarship program continues to provide vital financial support to college-bound seniors. Their collective impact is measurable, meaningful, and serves as an inspiration to all of us. On behalf of the Indian Prairie School District Board of Education, I am pleased to present you with the 2026 Inspire Award. Congratulations.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this award. On behalf of all of our leaders here, we are just eternally grateful for this recognition. And we are happy to partner with the district and with leaders in the community and also with parents and students. We could not do this if we did not have your support, and we really, really appreciate that. And if any of our other leaders have anything to say, if they...
You're good.
No? All right. Thank you again. We really appreciate it. All right.
The work never stops.
Natasha, just, yep, there you go. Great, thank you.
It's a night of recognitions tonight, so we will continue, and we have a recognition of our retirees. As is a custom of our board, we would like to take this opportunity to recognize our administrative retirees. Dave Wurst.
Come on up while I read. We're going to keep this bag. I'm going to read all of it. It's a proclamation. Yeah. Yes.
He just wants to leave quietly.
That's right. That's right. All right. The Indian Prairie School District 204 proclamation. Whereas David Wurst has devoted the past 33 years of his career to serving the students and families of Indian Prairie School District 204, having served as a teacher at Springbrook Elementary and Crone Middle School, as assistant principal at Hill Middle School, and as principal at both Gombert Elementary and Springbrook Elementary Schools. And whereas in addition to his leadership within the district, he has also served the community as a sophomore assistant basketball coach at Aurora Christian High School. And whereas Mr. Wurst earned a bachelor's degree from Trinity International University in Deerfield, Illinois, and a master's degree from Aurora University. And whereas he remains a devoted family man and grandfather who finds joy in his personal time through reading and playing pickleball. Yeah. And whereas he shares a daily reminder with his students and staff to always, quote, have fun, work hard, and be kind. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Indian Prairie School District 204 Board of Education, Administration, and Community honor Mr. Dave Wurst for his outstanding career in education, which has enriched the lives of so many students. Although we will miss his passion for always inspiring our students to achieve their greatest potential and his unwavering commitment to District 204, we wish him all the best in his future endeavors. Congratulations.
Well, the key is to getting for me to get hired was they were opening this school a year when I started. So they were hiring about 200 people. So the bar was really low. So I snuck in under the radar, and I've been here 33 years. I'm incredibly grateful. I'm thankful to the Board of Education, who's always put kids and the faculty at the forefront of what we did. Thank you for leadership like Dr. Talley and everyone else who's been here. So grateful and so humbled by this. Thanks.
All right, is Sally Osborne here?
You're perfect right there. Thank you, Michelle, for taking the bag. If you want it, you can bring it home now. Indian Prairie School District 204 proclamation. Whereas Sally Osborne has devoted the past 15 years of her career to the students of Indian Prairie School District 204, serving as the principal of Prairie Children Preschool since July 2011. And whereas before joining our district, Ms. Osborne served for 14 years with the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education. During that time, she worked as a school psychologist for 8 years and 6 years as the Early Childhood Program Coordinator. And whereas Ms. Osborne earned her bachelor's degree from State University of New York, College at Cortland, and her master's degree from Roosevelt University. And whereas Ms. Osborne is beloved by the students, staff, and families of the Prairie Children Preschool community, where she created a supportive learning environment where everyone felt valued. And whereas her leadership at Prairie Children Preschool has made a lasting difference, ensuring that our youngest learners feel happy, safe, and ready for their educational journey. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Indian Prairie School District 204 Board of Education, Administration, and Community honor Miss Sally Osborne's dedication and devotion to the students, teachers, and parents of our community. We are grateful for all that she has done for our students, and we wish her the best as she moves into the next chapter of her life's journey.
Thank you so much.
I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank the board. I'm so grateful for the time that I've had here at Indian Prairie School District. Early childhood has always been my passion, and moving into this position just has filled my heart with what I've always wanted to do and make a difference in a child's life. So thank you for giving me that opportunity 15 years ago here in the district.
You have to figure out where you're going to put that. Okay.
Okay, all of you in the audience are probably anxiously waiting. It's time for public comment. And we have 60 minutes allowed for public comment. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. When addressing the board, we ask that you respect the confidentiality and safety of our students and school district personnel. We also ask that those addressing the board be cognizant that this is an open meeting and is available to all age groups, and as such, ask that you consider who the audience members are this evening and keep comments age appropriate. Public comment represents the voice and opinion of the speaker. There will be no feedback from the board members during the meeting, but follow-up will be provided by an administrator as appropriate. Although this is not required, it is helpful for the board to know whether the comments and concerns we hear are being raised by residents. So we ask that you state if you live in the district and if you currently have children in our schools. The first speaker is Mike Razak.
Thank you. Given the importance of today's meeting and giving a very capable timekeeper, I will keep my comments short. So with the school year ending, I thought it appropriate that I extend some thank yous. First to the board. I don't want to jinx anything, but you almost made it through another school year. During the course of a school year, you are faced with 100 decisions, some of them easy, some of them difficult, some of them contentious. I just want to thank you for making those decisions in a professional manner based on governance principles. You make our community proud, and I thank you for that. Dr. Talley, last week I was cleaning out my computer and I found my speech in which I introduced you to the community 6 years ago. Sir, we had a few stretch goals for you. You had to change our boundaries. You had to pass a referendum. You had to increase achievement. We didn't tell you about the pandemic. Not only did we want you to exceed expectations, we wanted you to come out smelling like a rose. And the expectation on the board was that we, as a board, smell good too. Somehow you did it. Thank you. And I thank you, I think you did it because you have professional cool. In addition to the professional cool, I think you treat each person you meet with dignity, and that goes a long way. Good luck to you. Finally, Mr. Karubis, you were my colleague, my friend, sometimes my frenemy. I have 3 things to say I remember as we worked with our time together. What I remember first was the first coffee we had before we went on the board. You looked at me and said, we have to get to 2025 and pass a referendum. In 2013, we're never going to pass a referendum. We have too much to do and too much to take care of, and the community's not able to do it. So somehow we had a 12-year goal. You stuck it out. I appreciate everything you do. You were right. Based on the financials that we hear today, long-term sustainability was important based on that passing that referendum. 2, you were an advocate for our community buildings. Look at them now. Thank you. Finally, thanks for being the board curriculum cop. Dude, district policy and governance is boring, but it's foundational and so necessary. It is key to board excellence. Thank you. I know your next steps will be fruitful and happy. Thank you for everything. Everybody enjoy graduation.
Thank you. Okay. Next speaker is Rhonda Jenkins.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Talley. My name is Rhonda Jenkins, and I've had the privilege of serving students in our district for 27 years. For 13 of those years, I've been the Library Media Center Director at Kendall. Tonight, I want to reflect on the impact of those 13 years, not because recognition is what matters most, but because legacy does. When many people picture a school library, they imagine shelves of books in a quiet space. What I created at Kendall was so much more. I built a dynamic learning hub where literacy, creativity, innovation, technology, collaboration, and belonging came to life. I intentionally developed a diverse, engaging collection where every student can find books that reflect their interests, experiences, and curiosities. Students discovered books that changed them. They met award-winning authors. They explored emerging technologies. They created in our makerspace. They relaxed and read quietly alone or with a buddy in thoughtfully designed spaces. I created meaningful after-school opportunities where students could innovate, create, connect, and grow, not just academically, but socially and emotionally. I told you about our Book Blast event. What I didn't tell you is that on book delivery day, students went home with heavy backpacks and heavy and very happy faces, thanking me as they passed me by. I have volunteers who have been with me for years, one of whom has been with me for 11 years. I have another volunteer who hasn't yet mastered English. She feels uncomfortable because I speak her language, Mandarin. We help each other learn words. I have shared this work far beyond our district. I have presented at multiple library associations and professional conferences in 7 states, sharing innovative ideas, my successful projects, and the resources I personally created so other librarians could bring those same opportunities to their students. In doing so, I proudly represented District 204 as a place of educational excellence and innovation. In 2022, I was honored to be named Illinois Librarian of the Year, an award typically given to public library directors, administrators, and leaders in higher education. As an elementary school librarian, I was one of the rare exceptions. In October of 2016, I was the recipient of the A+ award, again an honor to be the first librarian to receive that award. And in one of the most meaningful affirmations of the work I do, 2 authors dedicated books to me, an extraordinary honor that still brings smiles to my heart. But titles, awards, and recognitions are not the true measure of success. The true measures are the reluctant readers who became readers for life, the students who found confidence through creating, the students who felt safe, inspired, challenged, and valued. For 13 years, Kendall has not simply been where I worked, it has been where I belonged. And in keeping with the district's theme of believe and belong, I believe I belong at Kendall. However, that sense of belonging has been taken from me. Through the decision of one, I've been reassigned to a 5th grade classroom at a different building for next year. I want to be clear, that is not my choice. After building something extraordinary for 13 years with a plan to serve just 2 more years before retirement,
Ms. Donahue, the speaker's time has ended.
Thank you. Next speaker is Don Faulkner.
Don Faulkner.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Talley, 204 colleagues, students, and families. My name is Dawn Faulkner, and I have worked in Indian Prairie for 10 years. I do not live in the district and do not have children enrolled in 204. I currently work as our SEL and Wellness Coordinator for Indian Prairie. I've never registered for 204 public comments before, but I'm here tonight because I'm proud to kick off the next round of tributes to Dr. Talley. I am joined by my colleagues to shine a light on the nearly $8 million in competitive grant projects over the next 15 minutes that further demonstrate Dr. Talley's impact and service to others. Early in my work with Dr. Talley, he said to me, "If I become known as the mental health superintendent, I'm okay with that." Through his leadership and innovative projects, Dr. Talley is undeniably the mental health superintendent. 2 of those projects, Peace of Mind and the Mental Health Symposium, I had the pleasure of leading alongside Dr. Talley and my colleagues Candy Michelli, Lisa Berry, Jeannie Dyna, and Dr. Trudy Ranson. Peace of Mind stands for Parent Education and Community Engagement. This project addressed gaps in opportunity and unmet needs from the pandemic by developing and expanding relationships between schools, community-based organizations, and mental health providers. The board and community should be proud that this project was made possible by a competitive grant awarded to Indian Prairie called the Community Partnerships, totaling $635,000. Without a single local dollar, every school and the majority of our preschool through 12th grade students benefited from Peace of Mind over the 3 years that we had it. This project included funding SEL ambassadors at every school, solidified more than 30 community partnerships, including therapy dogs, motivational speakers, and parent engagement events. Featured a superintendent-led Peace of Mind breakfast that was attended by 50 community members to date. It created a summer art camp to promote mindfulness and creativity in our Title I buildings, and ultimately helped to lead to the creation of the Mental Health and Wellness Symposium. The Mental Health and Wellness Symposium was the hallmark of the Peace of Mind and has since become an annual event that was attended by 843 individuals in 2026, 674 people in 2025, and 375 people in 2024. The symposium is unlike any other district-sponsored mental health event in Illinois in both scale and substance. It provides students and family education on mental health and wellness topics, includes high-profile guest speakers, and connects families with community resources in real time. The mental health and student wellness landscape in Indian Prairie has been permanently impacted by Dr. Talley. Return to instruction and the pandemic recovery process simply would not have been the same without him. Dr. Talley was our difference maker. Leadership matters, so please join me as I express gratitude to Dr. Talley for his. Thank you, Dr. Talley.
Next is Arlene Sanders.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Talley, 204 colleagues, students, and families. My name is Arlene Sanders. I was an Indian Prairie educator at Brookdale Elementary for 20 years until I retired 6 years ago. I do not live in the district, but my daughter is a English teacher at Neuqua Valley High School. Very proud of that. In my retirement, I've been visiting schools with my therapy dog, Scout, and I'm also contracting with Indian Prairie to support family engagement. I have never registered for public comment before, but I wanted to shine a light on Dr. Talley's service to others in a project that I led called Club Hub. The board and community should be proud that Club Hub was made possible by a competitive grant awarded to Indian Prairie School District, and it's called the 21st Century Grant. It totaled $1.5 million. Without a single local dollar, we had 809 students in 1st through 5th grade from Georgetown and Longwood, and they benefited from this grant over 5 years. Club Hub featured a diverse portfolio of before school, after school, evening, weekend, summer activities totaling 12 hours per week for 33 weeks, all offered at no cost to families. The project was strengthened by Dr. Talley's decades-long expertise in after-school learning, community schools, and whole childhood development. By combining after-school academic programming like Scholastic Lit League with hands-on enrichment through Camp Invention, an innovative family engagement that I led, Grow Club, Lego Club, and Family Art Club. We, by the way, have beautiful artwork in the hallway from our art club. And Club Hub has resulted in significant gains for students. Analysis of state testing and internal benchmarking data conducted by Dr. Mumm and Jason Gussman proved that Club Hub participants consistently outperformed their peers, helping to close the achievement gap. Georgetown was also recognized in its exemplary 21st century site as an ISB-funded study conducted by the American Institute for Research. Club Hub families recognize Dr. Talley's visible involvement as a hallmark of Indian Prairie's 21st century program. He visited students before school, after school, in the summer, and even participated in my Monday evening family Lego club on Zoom, and he became one of our beloved guest builders. Dr. Talley told the students that Lego Club encourages problem solving, creativity, and most of all, fun. In November, Dr. Talley helped us conduct a needs assessment, which asked Georgetown and the Longwood families, how important is it to have no-cost after-school programs? Of the 98 respondents, 91% stated that it was very important. 62% requested 3 or 4 days per week. Families were asked, why should we apply for another 21st century grant?
I am so sorry. That sounds amazing,
okay.
But
well,
your
Dr.
time
Talley,
is up.
I want to tell you, leadership matters, and we really, really enjoyed having you, and good luck with what you do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next we have Natalie Johnson.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Talley, 204 colleagues, students, and families. I am Dr. Natalie C. Johnson, a former 204 math teacher for over 19 years, resident of the district for over 35 years, and a proud parent with my husband of 2 adult children who attended kindergarten through 12th grade in 204 schools and who have successful careers working in higher ed and medicine. I'm spending my retirement working as the Senior Director of Education and Public Engagement at Fermilab, one of the 17 national research labs in the world. I've never registered for a 204 public comment before, but felt compelled to do so tonight because I wanted to shine a light on Dr. Talley's impeccable service and share my perspective of his impact on students and families via a project that I led after retirement called RISE. Named by Dr. Talley, RISE stands for Reimagining Student Engagement. RISE is an after-school and weekend programming included a K-5 book club called The Joy of Reading, hosted by myself and famed English literature writer and higher ed English department chair, Dr. Ebony Wilkins. Provided 87 students with books written by and about Black people, including topics on positive affirmations, leadership, and student STEM leaders of the past and current today. A summer camp and a weekend SAM Lab camp, led and facilitated by Liz Kaleda, introduced students to coding without code and serviced 77 and 92 K-5 students for 2 years, respectively. African American Men of Unity worked as the mentoring leg for the youth and benefited 58 middle school students. Our popular weekend brush and paint events were attended by 192 plus participants. At the high school level, Pages provided a Sunday tutoring program that benefited 49 students from Waubonsie Valley High School, Adam Deich contributed to the building the framework for a community outreach event called the Civics Engagement Summit, which was attended by 53 students and 62 parents and was facilitated by myself, Bev Matthews, and Liz Caleta. However, one of my favorite components of RISE included weekend family trips that Dr. Talley helped us plan. Beverly Matthews and I took more than 200 participants to railway and field museums, Brookfield Zoo, Navy Pier, and even had a magical bus ride with Mahogany Tours to learn about lesser-known facts about Chicago's amazing and dope history. And that excursion was facilitated by Chicago's renowned historian, Sherman Dilla Thomas. These engagements focused on building community, family bonding, and cultivating school connections, and the survey data reflected that families who participated felt valued, including families with special needs, and the RISE program met its goal of building community and connections within the larger 204 family. A project designed to build community across the district by providing understanding of the tenets of the civil rights movement. The board and community should be proud that it was made possible by a competitive grant awarded to Indian Prairie called Freedom Schools and totaled $366,800. Without a single local dollar, 609 K-8 students and 217 parents benefited from RISE over 2 academic years. For the record, that's 826 lives positively impacted. Although the African proverb held true, many hands make light work, in this instance, Dr. Talley's involvement in leadership example, his single hand in the Freedom Schools grant provided authenticity, and he was clearly the difference maker.
But your
Leadership
time is
matters.
ended.
Thank you, Dr. Talley.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Amit Thacker.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Talley, 204 colleagues, students, and families. My name is Amit Thacker. I am the founder of a company called Referral GPS, and we are Chicagoland's largest mental health care navigation provider. I don't currently live in the district or have enrolled children, but I am a product of District 204. I'm a proud graduate of Waubonsie, actually went to 204 from K through 12. I've never registered for 204 public comment before, but I'm here tonight because if you're keeping track of all the tributes, you might be thinking we're about $6.8 million short of Dr. Talley's $10.7 million PMO. I'm here to fill that gap with a project near and dear to Dr. Talley and so many of us here tonight, the CARES program. CARES, which was named by Dr. Talley, stands for Community, Advocacy, Resilience, Engagement, and Supports. It's a homegrown early intervention program that combines prevention, and it was envisioned by Dr. Talley in response to unmet needs raised by students themselves. CARES was designed in-house and aligned with evidence-based practices in both public health and systems design. It delivers no-cost after-school mental health treatment sessions to students and families focused on early identification, skill building, and stigma reduction. Through a discrete online referral portal, rapid care navigation provided by our team, and the establishment of school-based CARES community clinics, any student in need of support may receive up to 6 no-cost 50-minute treatment sessions funded exclusively by grant funding. Our teams triage referrals rapidly, bypassing traditional wait lists, and place students and families into care, ensuring they receive support just in time regardless of their insurance. CARES has revolutionized access to care by eliminating barriers to funding, transportation, and wait times for families. Surveys that we've done of families have come back that 96% of them have received care they said they otherwise wouldn't have. 98% of them have recommended continuing the program, and the overall care provided was rated 4.9 out of 5. Additional outcomes include reported increases in student engagement and a reduce in stigma in schools. CARES has not just benefited District 204, even though that's where it was born. It was piloted through multiple iterations here and through 10 competitive grants from funders including Endeavor Health, IDPH, the City of Aurora, the Naperville Township 708 Board, totaling more than $2.2 million specifically for District 204. To date, CARES has delivered more than 5,000 sessions in Indian Prairie and more than 13,500 additional sessions across Illinois through 19 grants totaling $4.6 million to fund CARES programs, almost like franchises, in 20 additional school districts in the area. As we've been hearing from our colleagues before us, leadership matters. And I want to take that a step further and say legacy matters. Dr. Talley speaks of CARES, and he often says, we built it, and they came. With close to 20,000 no-cost treatment sessions, I really want to say, Dr. Talley, your legacy will live on through CARES. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Beverly Matthews. She's feeling bad.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Talley, 204 colleagues, students, and families. My name is Beverly Matthews, and I worked in Indian Prairie for 23 years. I no longer live in the district, but I did for 18 years, and I don't have any enrolled children. As an Indian Prairie educator, I worked at 7 elementary schools until I retired 2 years ago. Since then, I've been supporting family engagement through 2 ISB after-school program grants awarded to IPEF and AAMOU, totaling $558,033. I have never registered for 204 public comment before, and I'm here to summarize the collective impact Dr. Talley's leadership has had on so many people. Dr. Talley's drive to eliminate barriers and address unmet needs, particularly among students most at risk, inspires my colleagues and I to view what ISB calls out-of-school time as a call to action. As a champion of community schools, experienced Title I administrator, and advocate for mental health, Dr. Talley knows that school does not start and end with the bell. My colleagues and I spent months considering an appropriate send-off for Dr. Talley. Faced with the age-old question, what do you give someone who has everything, we landed on a simple answer: shine a light on their service to others. The 11 grant-funded projects we have shared through public comment add up to $10,734,405. In Indian Prairie alone, the number of students benefited is tens of thousands. Please join me in a resounding wow. If you've been to Dr. Talley's office, you know overcoming challenges is a strength, as evidenced by the number of challenge coins on display. While Dr. Talley has a lot of challenge coins, he doesn't have any quite like these. It is my pleasure to present Dr. Talley with these 2 coins to memorialize his impact. Thank you, Rhonda Jenkins, for fabricating these coins, and Drs. Raphael Segarra and Jeremy Ricken for the idea. One final time, leadership matters. Thank you. And Dr. Talley, for all you've done and all you have inspired. Let me know when I can pick up my ZZ plant.
Okay, our last speaker is Alicia Smith.
Hello, my name is Alicia Smith. I live in the Gombert neighborhoods. I have a niece and nephew that attend Gombert. My other nephew attends Fisher Middle School. I worked in Indian Prairie 204 for 13 years. I also graduated from Waubonsie Valley High School. For almost 4 years now, those of us who live alongside Eola Road have been telling Indian Prairie School District 204 administration and the school board that Eola Road is too dangerous of a hazard for our children to walk to school. You have responded by sticking to an interpretation of the IDOT guidebook. Please use your eyes and ears to assess the situation. Here's what we know about Eola Road. It is one of the most dangerous roads in Aurora. There have been several fatalities in the last 4 years. The city of Aurora classifies the section between Montgomery and Keating as a 5-lane roadway. Most of the District 204 students who have to walk alongside Eola have to walk along this section. The section has a traffic volume hovering around 23,000 to 25,000 vehicles. Students are walking to school during the morning peak. When the city of Aurora approved the Eola Road expansion in 2016, they approved a noise abatement fence. The noise from the increased traffic being close to homes required the fence. The district has conducted numerous IDOT serious safety hazard studies. There is not a single IDOT Serious Safety Hazard Study rating Eola Road anywhere between Ogden and Keating. The neighborhoods to the east of Eola were never granted busing to Fisher Middle School when the boundaries changed in 2022. There is no IDOT study rating for Eola for their walk to school. Yet they were still denied busing for their walk alongside Eola Road. The Gombert neighborhoods have been asking for 4 long years why our children had to walk alongside Eola Road. We said that the ratings do not make sense. We were belittled, and then we were ignored over and over again. We want the IDOT Serious Safety Hazard Study to be done correctly. We want the hazards of walking alongside Eola Road to be calculated and not dismissed due to the existence of sidewalks. We want to be bused to Fisher Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we now move to our consent agenda and superintendent report.
Yes, and I'm going to, we have a student who's come back.
Oh, after her concert.
Anoushka? Did you sing well tonight?
Yeah,
What did you sing?
we sang a lot of pop songs.
Wonderful. Good. Well, on behalf of all the work that you have done being one of our student speakers, we want to give you this plaque and this gift card, and you will be back with us again next year, right? Yeah, it's all true. All right, congratulations.
Here.
Get a good picture. Hold on. And we're going to take a picture up front. We're going to do one more picture up here. Come on. Mr. Steph, you come off the side. I didn't do anything. I just. Just doing a meeting.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you for coming back tonight. Bye-bye.
Okay. Now we move to our consent agenda and superintendent report. We will start with the superintendent report.
Ms. Donahue, members of the Board of Education, Indian Prairie community, I have to start my comments with sad news. Last week, Slok Kande passed away. He was a 10th grader at Waubonsie Valley who was actively involved in the school as a band member and other activities. May his family know how much he will be missed and that he will be part of the Waubonsie family. I ask that we take a moment of silence in memory of Slok. Thank you. Last week, Mr. Matthew White, orchestra teacher at Scullin Middle School, was awarded the Golden Apple Award for Teaching Excellence in a surprise announcement. He is the first award winner from Indian Prairie School District in more than 20 years. He is one of only 10 winners across the state from more than 600 nominations. This Saturday, I was able to attend our annual Fine Arts Festival. It was a delight to see all the artwork that students have created and to listen to the wonderful music that our students performed. I want to thank all the teachers for their efforts in creating the event. I want to thank the students for their performances and showing their art. Pulling all the art together and gathering all the students is not an easy task. It is a testament to the staff for their commitment to this event each year. And finally, I want to thank Indian Prairie Education Foundation for sponsoring the event. We are proud to announce that Metea Valley, Neuqua Valley, and Waubonsie Valley have all been recognized as 2025-2026 Project Lead the Way Distinguished Schools. This recognition means we are empowering students to thrive in an evolving world and achieving exemplary results with our Project Lead the Way high school programs. Metea Valley, Neuqua Valley, and Waubonsie Valley are 3 of only 20 Illinois high schools recognized. This is the 5th year in a row that all 3 of our high schools have received this distinction. Since 2017, at least one of our high schools, and in many cases, all 3 of our high schools have won the award. We celebrate all Project Lead the Way staff for their hard work over the years, and we must also add Mr. Brian Giovannini, Director of Innovation and Instructional Leadership, for his actions leading this work for the district. At the last Board of Ed meeting, I mentioned we were celebrating all of our volunteers. I said I would provide some additional information at today's meeting. Nikoko White, who volunteers at Brookdale Elementary School and Hill Middle School for having the most volunteer hours, 421. Springbrook for having the most volunteer hours this year at 8,341 hours. This Sunday coming up, we will be able to celebrate our seniors as we hold our graduations for all 3 of our comprehensive high schools. We will start, however, as we always do, this Thursday with Gail McKenzie celebration. We look forward to attending all of these events and celebrate the hard work of our students. As this is the last Board of Ed meeting before the end of the school year, I will end my comments by thanking our staff for an amazing school year. Their dedication and commitment have helped to achieve the success we have as a district. To our students, thank you for all the hard work you've had, even sending me the snow request letters for no school. What you thought would be a very long year is almost over. Your hard work has paid off. To our community, thank you for your engagement in our schools. We are only as good as our community. We have a great partnership, and that partnership enables us to do all that we have been able to do this year for the benefit of our children. I hope for all of you, you have a wonderful summer. Ms. Donahue, I'll return it back to you.
I need a motion for the approval of consent agenda items D through N.
Make a motion for consent agenda items D through N as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rising?
Yes.
Ms. Gentz?
Yes.
Ms. Donahue?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Mr. Carubus?
Yes.
And Ms. Foster?
Yes.
The motion passes. I now need a motion and a second to approve our 4-year negotiated agreement between the Indian Prairie Classified Association and Indian Prairie School District Board of Education.
Make a motion that the Board of Education approve the 4-year negotiated agreement between the Indian Prairie Classified Association and the Indian Prairie School District Board of Education as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you for everyone for their hard work and pulling that agreement together, and for our union for approving it, so thank you. Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rising?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick?
Yes.
Mr. Carubus?
Yes.
And Ms. Donahue?
Yes.
Ms.
The
Gibbs.
motion passes.
Yes.
Yay.
If anyone was wondering, yes. It's a yes for me too.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's okay.
We needed that, yeah. Okay, we now have a presentation
Hold
from.
on. We need to sign off on the, Ms. Lanning, if you can come forward from IPCA, and we need to sign off on the contract.
Ah,
Ms. Donahue, if you'll join me at the table. Lanning, we'll put you in the middle.
Oh, I get to go in all of this? Oh,
And
wow.
Ms. Donahue, and then I'll be on this side.
All right. I haven't got my,
fancy pen.
that's a next.
And I'm being different. I'm signing in blue.
Oh, jeez.
There we are.
There
Thank you,
you
Ms.
go. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you can have it. We need to make copies.
Yes, I know.
All right. Now we will have a presentation from Dr. Barbie Chisholm, Angela Bourne, Christine O'Toole, Chrissy Weber, and Jessica Walsh regarding the MS-ELA courses for PA and 7th grade ELA curriculum revision.
Thank you, members of the, okay. Thank you, members of the board. Can you hear me okay now? Okay, great. Thank you, members of the board and Dr. Talley. I'm excited this evening to present the work of our PA, ELA, and 7th grade ELA curriculum teams. And I've brought with me some of the hardest workers on the team, and they are here with us tonight to share some updates. So the purpose tonight is to provide the information for our middle school Project Arrow English Language Arts courses, all 3 grade levels. We've been working on a full revision, and we'll provide an update on that. And then the second part of my presentation will be just an update on resources for our 7th grade standard ELA. So it's in alignment with our board policies with curriculum development and resource adoption. And of course, our strategic plan alignment, ensuring we are providing all students with high quality curriculum and instruction. So there's 2 parts to the presentation. The first part is the full course revision for our Project Arrow ELA courses. And then the second part will move into the standard ELA resource updates. So first, we're going to talk about middle school Project Arrow English Language Arts. We have been working on a full course revision for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade courses. And so in general, thinking about our general process for course updates, we like to review this process. We prioritize different courses. We work with building leadership team, our teacher leaders on our curriculum teams. We prioritize alignment to state standards and mandates, alignments with evidence-based practices, including those outlined in the Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan. We prioritize alignment across school and between levels, student achievement outcomes, and of course, alignment to the Board of Education goals, strategic plan, culturally responsive instruction, and the Portrait of Graduate framework. So our visual, just thinking about this nice, neat graphic, it usually doesn't go this way. You know, there's always starts and stops as we work through the process, and we'll talk a little bit about what that looked like for Project Arrow. So this work really got underway beginning in 2023-2024. We were working through the standard ELA revision. During that same school year, we had the elementary Project Arrow audit, and the Illinois Comprehensive Literacy Plan was also released by the state of Illinois. So all of these pieces have helped inform our work and how we move forward. In 24-25, we really started to work more on the Project Arrow ELA curriculum revision. We identified priorities in our framework and began our evaluation of some potential core resources. We did initially pilot a resource. However, we found that our consideration in doing a completely separate resource, which is how our curriculum was previously structured, wasn't really meeting the needs of our courses, of our teachers, and our students. And so we decided to shift course a little bit. So that's where that cycle starts to not look so nice and neat. So then this year we began, I call it our Pilot 2.0, building on the work of our standard ELA course revision with Common Lit 360, and working with the resource to develop something specific to meet the needs of our Project Arrow courses. We also piloted some supplemental resources and work to finalize our scope and sequence. And with pending board approval, next year we look to implement our new scope and sequence, our core resource, supplemental vocabulary resource, and continue our development with grammar resources and identification of additional text. So again, not quite that easy circle. Usually it gets a little messy, but I'm really proud of the work that the team has done. So 2 of our main priorities that came out of our needs assessment, number 1 was just to update resources. Some of it was just logistics. A lot of our resources are out of print from our previous adoption. We are also looking to provide a balance of both the classic resources that our students really need that strong foundational background in, and modern resources so that it reflects who our students are and provide that authentic and empowering lens. The other piece, and a lot of this was highlighted in the Project Arrow audit that was focused on elementary, but it's something that we also saw as part of a need for middle school Project Arrow, is that alignment and being able to clearly articulate what is Project Arrow, what does it mean, what is its relationship to our standard level courses in the middle school, and then how does it vertically align to our elementary Project Arrow and coursework, and then our high school advanced coursework. So really making sure that we have a clear definition of that across all of our buildings. So today, I'm asking the team to share with us our proposed curriculum overview, our revised units for all 3 grade levels for 6th grade. They do include shorter and extended text from the Common Lit 360 resource, which was board approved for standard English language arts last year. And also it incorporated some previously incorporated text, and the team really did a great job of making it meet the needs of our Project Arrow courses. So our 6th grade PA ELA, those units, you will see that there is a combination of both 6th and 7th grade Common Lit 360 units in the process. Because our team really wanted to make sure that we were providing a really strong transition from students, those that were in elementary Project Arrow, but also those that were not, that are now moving into Project Arrow ELA at the middle school level, and how do we create that transition. So we also wanted to incorporate some common 6th grade experiences. So the revised 6th grade units for Project Arrow incorporate 3 of the Common Lit 360 units as a foundation. We're also continuing to use the Outsiders, which was in a previous text within 6th grade PA ELA. Would like to add in The Giver by Lois Lowry, which is also a current novel in our 6th grade standard ELA. So that's going to be one of our common experiences for all of our 6th graders, to read the same unit and to be able to have that experience. And then we're also going to be continuing with some existing book clubs.
Yeah. So Angela and I'm Christine Weber. I'm at Still Middle School. And Angela Bourne is at Gregory Middle School. We both piloted with the 7th grade Project Arrow. We have cut down the Common Lit 360 to 4 different units from the 360 curriculum. We're still looking at, with Unit 1, we want to extend or have a whole class novel study, but we're still looking at some titles for that. So that's a possible thing for some piloting next year and to review for the 27-28 school year. We are keeping in our kind of second quarter our thematic units, and we're looking at continuing to use the existing text of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And then one of the things we added this year with our pilot is 12 Angry Men by Reginald Rose, which the students actually loved. So they absolutely loved that. So our last unit is a lot of research and debate, and we're still also hoping to use our existing book club titles that we've used for the past few years. So
at 12 Angry Men, that is it is currently in our 8th grade standard ELA.
Short. Kristen O'Toole, I'm at Still Middle School as well, 8th grade PA. Hi, Mrs. Gens.
Yeah.
For 8th grade, We really had it a little bit easier than 6th and 7th grade because for us, it's not so much a revision as it is a refresh. None of our core texts are changing with the Common Lit 360 curriculum. We start with the 9th grade Unit 1, which is all short stories, nonfiction, and poetry, which is what we were already doing. The central text to that unit is one of the central texts that we were already reading, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. So it just kind of freshens it up a little bit and brings in some nonfiction articles that are more relevant to students' lives, but a lot of what we read are still dealing with those big questions that our middle schoolers are wrestling with, that have been the big questions middle schoolers wrestle with since ever. So by keeping that in there, it really gives the kids a good outlet to explore some of these universal truths and the archetypes that we see across literature. The big change for us was flipping Animal Farm and Hamlet. They just basically flipped quarters. So Animal Farm is part of the Common Lit 360 curriculum, so we're still reading that. That was an existing text. It also brings in some more recent nonfiction articles that tie into Animal Farm to show that these struggles are still going on today. The next unit is Hamlet and Antigone, and the Antigone unit comes from Common Lit 360. The Hamlet is the existing unit that we were already doing, but by tying in Antigone, it really helps students see the development of archetypes through classical literature. They were already making the connections between Hamlet and modern day literature, and now they're able to go back and look at where Shakespeare's references came from as well, and what his inspiration was. And we were a little not sure how the kids were going to do with the ancient Greeks, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. It was great. They were all like firmly team Antigone, and they thought it was so unfair. And then our last unit is what we're wrapping up right now, our study of To Kill a Mockingbird. We pivoted a few years ago and switched the lens through which we look at that book. There's a fabulous resource from Facing History and ourselves called Teaching Mockingbird. I actually went downtown Chicago for a couple of days and did their seminar to really dig into the resource so that we know that we are implementing it with the fidelity that it requires, and really dedicating the time and the emotional energy to understanding all of the struggles and all of the different themes that Mockingbird brings up, and giving our students a safe space to explore these challenges before they get into high school and they're confronted with all of these situations kind of in real life. It gives them a good vicarious learning example with that.
The last component that we looked at for this upcoming year is the supplemental vocabulary program. Our existing resource is out of print, so as numbers have been going up and increasing, we do not have enough textbooks in our classrooms for the students that we are trying to service. Kind of a problem. So we took a look at vocabulary from classical roots. It's a series. It'll be used at 6PA, 7PA, and 8PA. We sat down as pilot teachers looking at what would be the best place to start at each of our grade levels. So 6th grade's going to be starting with the 6th grade book and then book A. 7PA will do book B and C, and 8PA will do E and F. Is that D and E? D and E. Okay, that was it. D and E.
Got the list on the next slide. Yeah.
Yep. And they all follow parallel to each other. What's really nice about the program itself is that as a 6PA at the start of the year, it is getting you introduced to all the word work that is involved with vocabulary, the morphology, and getting it more complex as you keep going. And so that's why we picked the 6th grade book at 6th grade to start with, just to ease them into the program. And we have the 2 titles per grade level, and we're just kind of working through and figuring out how that will, we kind of tried a bunch of different things. We've been on texting and, hey, do this, try this, to figure out what would be the best for the students in our classrooms. And we've been very successful with this program so far, and the kids are doing really well with it, I feel like, in our classes.
Yeah, and the morphology work has been a big part of Project Arrow. Our previous resources were standalone and not necessarily connected to one another. We also sometimes found some dated language in them that is no longer in usage, and so we really wanted to make sure that we're bringing something forward that better aligned to where we are now. So our recommended resources are Common Lit 360, which, as I mentioned, is our existing English Language Arts resource for our standard class. Also, 3 new whole class texts: The Giver, 12 Angry Men, and Antigone for the 3 respective grade levels, and then the Vocabulary from Classical Root series. As Angela mentioned, 2 books per grade level. And then the cost of this, the total cost would be $115,000, which covers the cost of purchasing the new whole class texts and the bound copies of student vocabulary books. We are building on the existing license of Common Lit 360. When we approved it for our standard ELA courses, it was a site license, and so we were able to leverage that and really make this a fiscally responsible proposal for the board. In addition, we're continuing with several of the texts as were mentioned through here. 6th grade PA is continuing with The Outsiders. 7th grade PA is going to be continuing with A Christmas Carol, and 8th grade PA is going to be continuing with Animal Farm, Hamlet, To Kill a Mockingbird. So before I move into the second part of the presentation, I wanted to pause and give the board an opportunity to ask the teachers that have done so much of the legwork on the ground. Any questions?
So I'm just going to open it up to anyone if they have any questions or.
I do have a quick question that I didn't have the wherewithal to ask in advance, but I'll ask you to think about it if you don't have the answer to it now. A few of my kids have gone through this previous iteration of PA-ELA in middle school, and there is differentiation among teachers about how things like classical literature is taught and whether students are allowed to use the translated version on the left side of the page or the actual old school language on the right side of the page. And is that something that is going to be more standard across the board, since it looks like we're trying to make sure that we're all having the same approach, or is that still going to be a teacher-specific
We're working
decision?
on it.
Okay, that's great.
It's a lot of books to replace.
It is,
to be honest. And I can tell you, even just at my school, we have 3 different versions of Hamlet.
Yeah.
So that makes it super fun when I'm like, okay, I've got this one, and if you have this book, you're on this page, and if you have this book, you're on this page, and like I got another one under my arm, and if you're on this, right? So just to get all of those resources and have that be standardized across the district will take a little bit of time, but some of the older texts, as they're needing to get replaced because they're just falling apart, we're replacing them to make sure that they are standardized across the district. And by focusing on the Common Lit 360 in general across the district, we are looking to standardize a lot of the instruction that the students are getting as well. I can tell you too, I have a 6th grader and an 8th grader right now at a different middle school, and they come home and they ask me questions, and I'm like, no comments. Like, tell me what you're reading, because it's not what I'm reading. So it's one of the things that we know is kind of an existing hurdle that we have to overcome. And we've also done a lot of work on the curriculum committee as well to standardize assessments. Even the assessments, the ones that are already in Common Lit 360 we're good, like they're already standardized. But now we're working on putting together standardized assessments across the district for both writing and reading, and then tying all of those assessments in peer assessment to specific standards so that we can track how kids are doing across the district, across schools, and make sure that they're getting maybe not the same exact experience, but at least a similar and equitable experience.
And the idea is that, we want to have that common definition and that common foundation. We know, you're going to have different needs in different groups of students, and so also having that space and that flexibility, so we're all starting in the same place, we all have a common goal, but then there's room for teachers to adapt to meet their students' needs to get them there.
So
And I feel like we've been real good too as piloting the curriculum, coming up with note slides and divvying up the work and sharing that out so that what I'm using for this unit or where I'm at, I can share over with Chrissy. And so we are trying to make sure we're all using even our same note slides. We've really been real adamant about sharing all of that with each other in case someone new comes in and they look at the curriculum and say, okay, it's written here, but now what am I using? We are creating those resources as well, which allows us to put our own spin on things in our classrooms.
Thank you so much. That sounds like an incredible amount of work. It's appreciated.
I think you kind of answered my question, but I'm going to ask it again. And just know I'm going to ask it at the end of the second part too. But but on slide 8, when you talked about updating resources, because they weren't meeting the standards, the great thing is we only have 7 middle schools, right? So I see most of the teachers here that represent 7 middle schools. When the curriculum resources are not meeting the standards, I would assume, because our teachers are so incredible, that they do their best to either supplement it themselves or create their own instructional practices. In my mind, and the research I have done on literacy and math over the past year and a half, really doesn't matter the curriculum that you have, because really that's just a resource, a tool. What it really comes down to is your instructional practices. And so I guess my question there is, and I hear you're all texting each other and sharing stuff, but I want to make sure as a district that we're aligning our instructional practices and strengthening that equally and all together, and we're all at the same page, because that's when we don't have fidelity across the district. So that's the most important thing to me. Yes, a curriculum is nice, but I want to make sure that our teachers are all aligning on instructional practices and strengthening that as best as we can.
And our teachers, I think you made a really great point. When our resources are not in alignment with our curriculum, our teachers do amazing things, and they create great learning experiences for our students. I think what happens sometimes with that is then we start to get a little bit of a drift where I'm doing amazing things over here in this building, but then over here somebody else is doing something also amazing, but it's very different. And then that's where our experiences start to become out of alignment. So the purpose of the curriculum is to create that common foundation so that we do have equitable experiences across the district, but then now we have that foundation, we can really focus on those instructional practices and that we're all speaking the same language. It's not, oh, you're doing this book and you're doing this unit. We don't do that unit over here. And so trying to eliminate that piece so that we're all moving in the same
Okay, I won't ask it at the end again.
That makes Justin happy.
I got a question. So the books for the new whole class text, do the students get to keep those books? Because sometimes they annotate. So are those for them to keep, or?
So most of the texts we're purchasing as a book. It is very costly to buy a text that you can send students home. When we are using the Common Lit, they're not whole class texts, but when we're using those, students can annotate those. Many of the teachers use print workbooks, so students can mark those up. Additionally, the texts that are in the public domain, A Christmas Carol, and Antigone, we are actually not going to be purchasing any copies of Antigone. We're going to be printing that and allowing that as a consumable to include that annotation. We're looking for ways to kind of build that in without having to buy a complete refresh of text for every student.
We go through a lot of Post-its.
Yes.
Like a lot of Post-its. Yes.
Yes.
And at the end of every unit, we have what we call in my class a Post-it party, where we put music on and everybody just sits and rips Post-its out of their books. Some of my students this year have opted to purchase their own copies of the book so that then they can write directly in it.
Okay.
And then I see some of them that buy their own copy and then they're still using Post-its. And I'm just like, you could write it down. You're allowed. So it just kind of depends on their choice. But we also, I know we use building money to buy Post-its for kids to make sure that everyone is supplied, and then the Post-its help too because we can use different colors to mean different things. And then it becomes the opportunity for an executive functioning lesson. So, but yeah.
One more question. The PA program in general, if you are not in it in 6th grade, you can still partake in it 7th grade and 8th grade.
Yes.
And how is it determined? In 5th grade, is it determined if you get into the 6th grade PA program?
Yes. So yeah, the students qualify at the end of their 5th grade year for mid 5th grade, so we can get schedules. But yes, it is rolling. Like a student can continue to qualify again. Once we're in middle school, it's really about readiness for above grade level work and that rigor that's going to be in the preparing students for that rigor of advanced high school coursework, and that's and so students can rise to that at any point.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello, Jessica Walsh, 7th grade ELA at Granger Middle School.
So I invited Jessica in to talk, to speak and help present about our, just some resource updates. This is something that we don't always do. This is kind of like the behind the scenes work of the curriculum teams, but it seemed like a really good opportunity to show about the ongoing work. It's not just the every few years and look what we did and then everything is fine for another 5 years. It is ongoing and we're always looking to continually refine and improve. So this is an example of this.
Yes. So this past year, some members of the 7th grade curriculum team piloted book clubs. We have been doing book clubs for years. I've been teaching 7th grade for 20 years, and shared reading is one of the foundational elements of a strong literacy block, whether that's a read aloud, book clubs, whole class novels. The shared reading experience and reading in community is one of the most valuable tools that we have, especially with the block, the time that we are allowed. And so we realized with a refresh of Common Lit that we needed to look at our book club selections. We know that our students are changing very rapidly, their attention spans are changing rapidly, their interests, and so we know that book clubs is one of those places where we can really build a lifelong love of reading. So I think it's probably one of the most authentic experiences we can provide for our students as well. I'm sure many of you are in book clubs as well or partake in, reading a book club a celebrity has endorsed, but it really is one of those most authentic experiences. So our curriculum team piloted some new titles. Some we pulled from our past curriculum because they still fit in with some of the Common Lit thematic units. So we had to give ourselves a pat on the back that we did make some smart choices in the past because Common Lit was still including them in their recommended independent reading choices. And so this past year, the curriculum team, for one of the units, the Influential Voices unit, we piloted book clubs, which would be our second book club experience for 7th grade with 11 new titles. The Influential Voices unit is a unit where students analyze speakers, real speakers. We watch speeches, we read speeches, we look at the tools that speakers use to convince their audience. And so nonfiction texts are really the majority of some of our book club books, and students were able to connect what we studied in the Common Lit text to their book club text, and so it really just deepens the experience of that unit. So some of them are Common Lit recommended texts, some of them are previous book club titles, and other additional high interest texts that we either had in our school libraries or we had researched to pull into this pilot. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so the updates would include these new titles for this unit. We went from 11 titles down to 9. There were just a couple titles that were didn't quite have the impact we expected with our 7th graders, and so we let them know that this was a pilot. Please give us your honest feedback, and 7th graders love to do that. So, but they really took on the challenge of giving us their feedback, and so moving forward, we're recommending 9 titles for students to choose from that align with this unit, and this would then build out a full year experience for students with 1 whole class novel and 2 book club experiences. So the first opportunity for students to have a book club experience is at the beginning of the year, and then we have a whole class novel with Brown Girl Dreaming, which is part of the Common Lit curriculum, and then this final book club experience would be towards the end of the year, around spring break time. So what we're looking for, do you want to talk about the financial part?
Yeah, and so because we know, book clubs are really our opportunity to stay current, the strategy for purchasing these is to try to actually purchase the cheapest version of them as we can. So we typically just buy a paperback and 5 copies per section, just to keep the cost low and that ability to turn over those titles, as opposed to, like our whole class novels, we buy those hardback to last us a really long time. So this whole refresh just costs, the anticipated cost is around $18,000. So this is the full list of the new book clubs. And you can see there are some familiar names, famous names on them. Many of them, most of these are nonfiction titles. I think there were a couple fiction ones that we incorporated in there for some variety, but.
Yeah, we wanted the full range to just reflect students' interests, to reflect the students in our classroom. Hopefully some of these people, are recognized names for students, and if they're not, then they get to kind of learn about people who are currently living or from history that have used their voice to make a change, and that really leverages that Influential Voices unit. So you can see titles there from Katherine Johnson, and then many of these are young readers editions, so there's an adult version, but the book club version for our 7th graders is the young readers edition.
So if you have questions specific about the book clubs, but our next steps are just that our course curriculum changes for PA, ELA are open for comment until the next board meeting. Where we anticipate requesting approval of the curriculum changes on June 8th. All of the resources, including the book club titles, although they're supplemental, they are available for review here at the CEC, and that at the next meeting we'll be requesting approval of the Project Arrow ELA proposed resources. And we will continue our ongoing work of the teams. It's one of the things I really enjoy doing is getting to work alongside them. So questions?
I'm going to open it up again for anyone if they have questions. No. Justin, I know you must have questions. Is this your last topic to ask questions? You're going to come back and do public comment all
Almost
the
9
time.
o'clock. Well, I'd like to focus on the policy part of it. You started with the policy, and sometimes we skip over these things, but it is important. And I've got a T-shirt that talks about my love of policy. Thank you, Natasha. But I do think it's important that we don't just flow over it. And so, you look at, I'm not a teacher. I don't pretend to be one. I'm not an administrator. I'm a school board member. And I used to be a caveman attorney. So I focus on the policy aspect of it. And curriculum development, the school board will adopt, upon the superintendent's recommendation, the curriculum. If it meets the 7 standards that are in there, and the presentation just walked down pretty much them exactly how they should be. So I think when we all focus on the policy, it makes all of our jobs easier. You guys have the end goal on what boxes need to get checked, and it makes our job easier. So we don't have to go back in circles and say, no, you did it all wrong, go back and start over. And then the instructional material, the superintendent shall recommend for us to adopt. And it deals with textbooks and primary instructional material. That's our world. And that's what we're doing here today. And there's a list of things that we're approving. And the policy has what we need to approve it. And it makes it real easy for us to say, hey, we followed policy. You guys did a good job. Thanks for the presentation. And let's do it. So thanks for making me end like that, Lori.
Right.
But I had nothing else to say.
Well, thank you so much for your work. And when you look at a presentation like this, you realize, and I'm not a teacher at all, how complex and how thoughtful the work it takes to have a curriculum that engages and challenges and really helps our students engage in the whole process of learning. So thank you for all the work and energy behind all of this. And I've read several of those books in the book club and love it. So thank you for that. So thank you. All right, last up, any legislative advocacy or Board of Education update?
I do have a couple things.
Okay, yeah.
So just wanted to update the board. Recently, IASB asked me to speak with Representative Janet Yang Rohr with 3 other DuPage County superintendents. Dr. Talley was there about the, what's escaping me now, Adrian? Notice to remedy bill that's currently in legislation at the state of Illinois. So they asked me to represent DuPage board members, IASB did. So attended that. June 2nd, I just looked it up, will be that evidence-based funding meeting that I'll be attending half a day during my work day, so I'll be taking off for work for that. And then also June 5th and June 6th, I'll be taking off work and going to that as part of the DuPage representative. I'll be down in Springfield for IASB. So my goal after that meeting is to send updates to all the school board members in DuPage County of what takes place at those meetings, so they're more informed of what actually happens at those directors' meetings. So look for that. You guys will receive it first, but I'll be sending it to all the DuPage County board members as well. So that's it.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to say thank you ahead of time to the board members because I know we are going to have a busy couple of weeks coming up here. So thank you in advance. And I appreciate all of you and all of your hard work here. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Okay, thank you.